Chapter 2994. The Sky-bearing Star Lord wishes to meet you? Lin Feng was slightly stunned. Even Venerable Wan Yuan and Yi Yuan were stunned. The former did not understand why other cultivators would know that Lin Feng had just stepped into the Lin mansion. The latter knew who the Sky-bearing Star Lord was. I don't know him. Reject him, Lin Feng rejected. Yi Yuan immediately said, Big brother, the Sky-bearing Star Lord is the Star Lord of the Emperor Star. He might be here to look for second brother. No, third master, the Sky-bearing Star Lord is here to visit Uncle Lin Feng, the butler said. Yi Yuan nodded and smiled at Lin Feng. Big brother, you are really amazing. You just came back and the Sky-bearing Star Lord is here to visit you personally. No one has such great influence on the Emperor Star. Lin Feng said, He must be here for something. Come, let's go and meet him. Okay. Yi Yuan nodded. In the main hall, the Sky-bearing Star Lord had his hands behind his back. He looked calm. The servants around him stood respectfully. Facing the most powerful man on the Emperor Star, they did not dare to be rude. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures appeared instantly. The Sky-bearing Star Lord's eyes lit up. He already knew Yi Yuan. After all, he had been to the Lin mansion many times. Shirwanli was also a big shot on the Emperor Star. As for the other two, the Sky-bearing Star Lord fixed his gaze on Lin Feng and smiled. This must be Brother Lin Feng, the one who challenged Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. I have heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you, Sky-bearing Star Lord. Lin Feng returned the greeting. After exchanging pleasantries, the two sat down. Brother Lin and Shirwanli are? The Sky-bearing Star Lord asked curiously. He is my second brother. Lin Feng smiled and said, This is my third brother, Yuan. We are 3 sworn brothers. Thank you for taking care of us during these eras, Star Lord Tiancheng. Haha, Brother Lin, you're exaggerating. The Sky-bearing Star Lord did not mind Lin Feng's equal exchange. Although the human youth in front of him was only an ultimate god, the identity of a 7-star Taichu cultivator given by the army was enough to explain everything. No matter how great the contribution was, to become a 7-star Taichu practitioner at the very least, the power of a universe master. In the Hongmeng Sea, strength was everything. May I know the purpose of your visit this time? Lin Feng went straight to the point and asked. The Sky-bearing Star Lord coughed lightly and said seriously, It's like this. Brother Lin, did the army just grant you the identity of a Taichu? Yes. Lin Feng did not deny it. The Sky-bearing Star Lord asked, Brother Lin, do you have a place to stay? I haven't considered it yet. Lin Feng smiled, understanding the purpose of the Sky-bearing Star Lord's visit. Yi Yuan, who was behind him, was slightly surprised. He could not help but ask, Big brother, after receiving the identity of a Taichu, don't we have to draw lots to decide where we live? The Sky-bearing Star Lord explained to Yi Yuan, only Taichu practitioners below 4-star need to draw lots to decide where they live. Those above 5-star Taichu practitioners can choose where they want to live. Yi Yuan's eyes widened. Big brother, you're amazing. It's already very impressive that my second brother received the identity of a Taichu when he received the identity of a 4-star Taichu, but he still needs to draw lots to decide where he lives. The Sky-bearing Star Lord nodded. Normally, powerful people receive the identity of a Taichu as a 3-star practitioner. Because Shirwanli is very powerful, the army gave him the identity of a 4-star Taichu. Yi Yuan gave him a thumbs up. He was even more respectful. Big brother, you're really strong. You received the identity of a 5-star Taichu as a supreme god. Second brother spent a total of 40 eras to go from 4-star to 5-star. The Sky-bearing Star Lord exclaimed softly. He said to Lin Feng, Brother Lin, aren't you a 7-star Taichu practitioner? 7-star? Yi Yuan was dumbfounded. The servants around them who had lowered their heads and were secretly eavesdropping were also dumbfounded. They naturally knew what the identity of a 7-star Taichu represented. In the entire Emperor Star, including the sky-bearing Star Lord, there was not a single 7-star Taichu practitioner. Even the ruler of the universe might not be able to become a 7-star Taichu practitioner. It was too unbelievable. Big brother, is it true? Yuan asked blankly after a long time. Lin Feng nodded. He had a rough idea of what was going on, but there was no need to explain further. Moreover, he had enough confidence and qualifications. It's true. The sky-bearing Star Lord still could not believe it. In the entire chaotic universe of the Taichu origin, there were many 7-star Taichu practitioners, but Lin Feng was the only one who had reached the supreme god level. He was the only one in the entire chaotic universe of the Taichu origin. I came this time in the hope that Brother Lin Feng would consider settling down on the Emperor Star. The sky-bearing Star Lord was thirsty for talent. His eyes lit up. Brother Lin, if you have any requests, I will do my best to help. Lin Feng said, I don't plan to go to other star zones for the time being. I will stay on the Emperor Star for a while. If there are no accidents, I will probably settle down on the Emperor Star. To Lin Feng, settling down on a star zone or planet was not a big problem. As long as it was suitable and there was nothing to worry about, it was fine. The sky-bearing Star Lord was so hospitable, and both his second and third brothers were here. Lin Feng could not think of any reason to leave. Perhaps other planets had more great masters and were more prosperous, but what did that have to do with him? Lin Feng did not plan to form a group, nor did he plan to join other superpowers. He was alone and did not care. That's great. The sky-bearing Star Lord was overjoyed and laughed. With Brother Lin joining us, the Emperor Star will become famous and become the top planet in the Emperor Star field. Lin Feng asked, Does the bearing Star Lord know about the god-killing King Qi? Killing God Wang Yan? The sky-bearing Star Lord's eyes flashed. I just received the news. A universe ruler is so shameless to challenge a great master. Isn't he afraid of being laughed at? Brother Lin, don't worry. This matter will be settled by the sky-bearing Star Lord. There will be no repercussions. Shirwanli does not have to accept the challenge. It is against the rules for a universe ruler to challenge a great master, not to mention a life-and-death battle. Isn't this clearly bullying? As he spoke, the sky-bearing Star Lord felt indignant. No matter what, the one being challenged was a great master of the Emperor Star. How could he, as a Star Lord, have any dignity left? No, we plan to accept the challenge, Lin Feng said. Accept the challenge? The sky-bearing Star Lord frowned slightly. With Shirwan Li's strength, he can indeed compete with killing god Wang Yan. However, this is a life-and-death battle after all. Great masters and universe rulers are different in nature. Second brother is in seclusion. Lin Feng interrupted the sky-bearing Star Lord. I will accept the challenge on behalf of second brother. Please pass on the message, Star Lord. The sky-bearing Star Lord was stunned. Did he hear wrongly? Lin Feng was going to accept the challenge on behalf of Shirwanli? A life-and-death battle against killing god Wang Yan. That was a universe ruler. The sky-bearing Star Lord hesitated for a long time before asking tactfully, Brother Lin, do you want to reconsider? Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. We three brothers have traveled all the way here and are never afraid of challenges. Since he dares to challenge, I am not afraid to accept the challenge. A life-and-death battle. Very interesting. Chapter 2995. Wow, look. There's an announcement for the Emperor Star Field Pinnacle Tournament. Which two great masters are fighting? Killing god Wang Yan? Damn, isn't that the super master from Guanghua Xing who retired a long time ago? Why is he here? Which universe ruler is his opponent? Lin Feng? Who is that? I've never heard of him. There was a huge commotion in the Emperor Star Field. The Taichu cultivators on every planet were talking about this grand event. The Emperor Star Field Pinnacle Tournament usually invited the top great masters from the major planets to spar with each other. Universe rulers rarely appeared. Every time a universe ruler appeared, it would attract a lot of attention, especially this time. Killing God Wang Yan's opponent was too strange. The little monster who defeated Huang Zun's investiture of the gods list. Is Lin Feng crazy? He's only an ultimate god. How can he fight Wang Yan to the death? This is too crazy. An ultimate god against a universe ruler? Haha, he's too arrogant. Wang Yan is too shameless. He's bullying the weak. There's a gap of 2 levels. His internal universe can crush his opponent. How can he fight? It's impossible to win. There's no chance. None of the cultivators were optimistic. Even though Lin Feng was famous in the Taichu Origin Chaos universe, challenging Huang Zun's investiture of the gods list was one thing. Fighting against a universe ruler was another. Any great master could defeat Huang Zun's investiture of the gods list, but against a universe ruler, he would be defeated. The difference in strength was irreversible. Guanghua Xing, despicable. The infernal demonic flute was enraged. His black skin was undulating. Running away after winning 100,000 miles is really shameless. He actually sent a divine venerable to fight. He must be afraid of teacher. The short Su Hao demon thief sneered. His small eyes glowed. A battle of life and death is no joke. It will only end when one side dies. The killer god, Wang Yan, wielded his saber with one hand and stood quietly in the center of the martial arts hall. His entire body was emitting a terrifying aura. He was the king of devils. Teacher is very angry. As the eldest senior brother, Magic Flute of Hell understood his teacher's personality the best. The calmer he was, the angrier his teacher seemed. They're insulting us. Teacher has initiated a life and death battle, yet they're sending a divine venerable to die. They're tarnishing teacher's reputation, said Su Hao. Magic Flute of Hell sighed softly. This time, not only will teacher have an unfair advantage, but he will also become a laughingstock for the other universe masters. Can't we refuse, senior brother? Su Hao asked. Magic Flute of Hell shook his head. We were the ones who proposed the life and death duel. Now that the opponent has accepted the challenge and we're backing down, teacher's reputation will plummet even further. Then we can only fight? Su Hao Demon Thief's murderous intent was revealed. If that's the case, let's just kill them and make them pay the price. Magic Flute of Hell looked at his teacher who was standing quietly in the martial arts hall. Teacher knows what he's doing. The time was set. The location was set. This battle was destined to be recorded in the history of the Emperor Star Field's Pinnacle Challenge. It was slowly approaching. Dozens of planets in the Emperor Star Field were watching closely. The Guanghua Xing and the Emperor Star Field's cultivators were arguing. It was very lively. In every Pinnacle Challenge, the 2 planets would always be at each other's throat. It was a big tradition. However, this time, even the Taichu cultivators of the Emperor Star Field were not confident. Although Lin Feng had defeated Huang Zun in the investiture of the gods, it was still a far cry from a battle with a universe ruler. In the face of the provocation of the Guanghua Xing cultivators, the only way they could fight back was the difference in their cultivation levels. Killing God Wang Yan was bullying the weak. If Lin Feng could defeat Killing God Wang Yan, it would be a lie. Who would believe it? However, they did not know that Lin Feng did not take this battle to heart. There was still a long time before the Pinnacle Challenge. Lin Feng did not deliberately target Killing God Wang Yan's cultivation. Instead, he cultivated himself step by step. First Golden Body. This was Lin Feng's current cultivation in the Tao of Meng. More than 99% of mental cultivators would not be able to obtain the first golden body when they broke through to become a powerful being. Lin Feng had already obtained the first golden body when he was only a supreme god. Stepping into the first golden body meant that his body, soul, and spirit had perfectly merged into one. There was no need to fuse any other power. The power used was the first golden body, which was provided by the universe in his body. The first golden body was comparable to the universe ruler's normal Hongmeng power. The Tao of Meng had 3 realms at the mighty figure level. One was the ordinary initial Meng, one was the golden initial Meng, and the last was the ultimate essence body. However, Lin Feng's soul wasn't strong enough to have an essence body. Although there was a high chance that the mountain core could possess the primordial sea's 3rd essence body, it had been stopped by ancestor Fan. Fan Zhu knew very well that the moment Lin Feng obtained the origin body, his body and soul would be destroyed. He did not want Lin Feng to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm and give the mountain core a perfect origin body. Fan Zhu was very confident that as long as Lin Feng continued to cultivate, he would definitely be able to obtain the first golden body when he broke through to become an almighty with his help. I'm almost used to it. Although Lin Feng had cultivated for more than 300 eras, he had mostly been refining and tempering his body. He had only started to adapt to the new first golden body after coming to the Emperor's Star. His new body was very strong. Lin Feng had to thank the mountain core for this. Without the mountain core's help, he wouldn't even have been able to condense the first golden body, let alone the first golden body that was comparable to a universe ruler. It could be said that this was a blessing in disguise. I've also comprehended most of the nomological laws. I can break through and become a Yuan Venerate at any time. The current godly Venerate was almost the limit for Lin Feng, so breaking through was a matter of course. However, Lin Feng intended to sweep through the Godly Venerate list first before going. The rewards of the Godly Venerate list were excellent. Every divine general that was defeated would be rewarded handsomely. The value of a hidden great general that had swept through all the divine generals was even more difficult to estimate. This time, I hope I can take first place once. Lin Feng had previously left his name on Huang Zun's Godly Venerate list, especially when the strongest fire monarch was on the Godly Venerate list. However, he had never sought first place. This time, Lin Feng really wanted to prove himself. Take first place once. There were 14 divine generals on the Godly Venerate list. Among them, the strongest divine general, Yu Ancestor, only had 3 names on the Godly Venerate list. Since ancient times, only 3 Godly Venerates had ever defeated him. No matter how one looked at it, the Godly Venerate list was more valuable than Huang Zun's Godly Venerate list. It's almost time. Lin Feng sighed softly, ended his cultivation, and stepped out of the martial arts hall. He would first go and end that boring life and death challenge before sweeping through the Godly Venerate list. Let's warm up first. Mobile version update website Chapter 2996. Planet Neru, where the Emperor's Star Field Pinnacle Tournament was held. This was a special star fragment. There were no signs of life on it, yet it was extremely sturdy. It could withstand attacks from universe dominators without being destroyed. Even so, after countless eras, Neru's star was already in ruins. Too many pinnacle tournaments had been held here. Not long ago, Emperor Stars Shirwanli had fought against Guang Huaxing's magic flute of hell. Both of them had universe dominator battle power, but Shirwanli had suppressed magic flute of hell in every aspect and easily defeated him. This time, it was another battle between Emperor Star and Guang Huaxing. There were hundreds of millions of planets with life in the Emperor Star field. Of course, the ones that were considered residential were those with 3-star and above Taichu cultivators. The ones that were more well-known were those with 5-star and above Taichu cultivators. There were over 100 of such planets in the Emperor Star field. These 127 planets had rankings based on their comprehensive abilities. The key was the number of powerful beings and the top battle power. A planet with 7-star Taichu cultivators would naturally be ranked higher than a planet with 6-star Taichu cultivators. In the Emperor Star field, there were only 4 planets with 7-star Taichu cultivators. They were extremely rare. This was why the Celestial Star Lord was so eager to rope in Lin Feng, hoping that he would settle down on Emperor Star. As long as Lin Feng agreed, Emperor Star would be able to enter the top 5. The Emperor Star Field Pinnacle Tournament was also a major factor in determining the rankings. Whichever planet's powerful being was more powerful and the top battle power was more powerful, there would be points added and points deducted. Because the participants were the top fighters of their respective planets, the Taichu cultivators of the various planets paid special attention. Whether it was from the perspective of admiring the strong or from the perspective of the glory of their respective planets, they were all very impressed. I thought it would be Shirwanli. That's right. I didn't expect Lin Feng to fight. Although he's very powerful and defeated Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, he's only an ultimate god after all. There's a huge gap between him and a universe master. Don't worry, we can afford to lose this match. On the other hand, Guanghua Xing is bullying the weak and will definitely become a laughingstock. You can't say that. This is a life and death battle. Lin Feng is the future star of our Emperor Star. Now that he has fallen, it will be a big blow to our Emperor Star. Are you stupid? Lin Feng is only an ultimate god. Even if he is killed in a life and death battle, he can still be resurrected. On the North Star side, the Taichu cultivators were still very relaxed. Although he knew that this was a losing battle, it did not matter who won or lost. A universe master defeating a godly master would be a laughingstock if word got out. On the other hand, Guanghua Xing would become the target of ridicule. Guanghua Xing is too despicable. Killing God Wang Yan is so shameless. This time I'm on the North Star side. No one else would do this. A universe master is bullying the weak. That's an ultimate god. It's not just an ultimate god. Lin Feng is our little hero. He defeated Huang Zun's investiture of the gods and gave us a lot of face. He's better than Taichu and Taichu. Speaking of which, do you think Lin Feng can really defeat Wang Yan? Defeat a universe master? Don't be naive. Although Lin Feng is very powerful, an ultimate god can only be comparable to a pinnacle great power. However, a pinnacle great power is like a child in front of a universe master. Although I don't want to admit it, Wang Yan is indeed much stronger than Lin Feng. Sigh, this is a slaughter without any suspense. This unfair battle of life and death attracted a lot of attention in the Emperor's starfield. Killing God Wang Yan was already very famous. Guanghua Xing was ranked 17th in the Emperor's starfield, much higher than North Star's 39th. The strongest Emperor of North Star, Hua Dun, had always avoided fighting Wang Yan. He was thought to be afraid of losing. In addition, Lin Feng was a little famous in the Taichu. 300 eras ago, he defeated Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. It was amazing. Now, the gap between the two of them was 2 whole levels. It was hard not to notice. This is the battlefield. Lin Feng appeared from the teleportation channel and stepped on planet Nero. A huge gravitational force swallowed from below like a tsunami. However, it didn't cause any pressure to Lin Feng. The suction force of the super black disk was much stronger than this. Although the outside world was full of opinions, Lin Feng didn't feel any pressure. A battle of life and death? He had experienced too many life and death situations. Although he was facing a universe ruler that he had never fought before, Lin Feng didn't care about an ordinary universe ruler. After all, even the Mountain Core survived 300 eras ago. Killing God Wang Yan was too weak compared to the Mountain Core. He's here. Lin Feng felt a powerful aura descend from afar. The power of a universe ruler was obviously different from that of a powerful existence. The two had different internal universes. Powerful existences could choose between the path of confusion and the path of Hongji and cultivate it to the extreme. However, any universe ruler had to be proficient in both. They could be slightly mediocre in the path of confusion and focus on the path of Hongji. They could also be slightly weaker in the path of chaos and be extremely strong in the path of confusion. However, they couldn't go all the way because such an internal universe wouldn't be able to advance. Hongmeng, the true Hongmeng, Hong and Meng were indispensable. According to the information, Wang Yan is cultivating both Hongmeng paths. It wasn't difficult to find information about an opponent, including Lin Feng's information. Wang Yan knew Lin Feng's power very well. His strongest power was soul shock. Wang Yan didn't know that Lin Feng had a world embodiment. Besides Fan Zhu, only Shirwanli, Yuan, and Wan Yuan Knight knew. He's on the path of confusion and has a great universe body. It's very ordinary. Lin Feng didn't think that killing God Wang Yan was very strong. A universe ruler who was on the path of confusion would have a super-universe body. However, his great universe body is integrated with the path of massacre and has a certain level of power. The path of massacre was the path of Hongji. It was one of the most common cultivation laws among the Hongmeng laws. Just like how the destruction laws and great destruction laws had a ladder relationship to begin with, the Slaughter Heavenly Dao's ladder relationship was even more direct. It started from level 5 and reached the peak of level 9. It went straight to the limit of the primordial sea, so there were many people who cultivated it. After all, when one cultivated the Hongmeng laws, one would cultivate one at level 5, another at level 6, and then switch between level 7 and level 8. It would waste a lot of energy and time. Such Hongmeng laws that reached the limit of the Hongmeng Sea were very popular. However, it was the path of massacre after all. It requires endless killing to reach the limit. It's too difficult. Lin Feng wasn't a cruel and merciless cultivator. He knew that he couldn't cultivate the path of massacre to the limit. Cultivating the Hongmeng laws was the same as cultivating the universe laws. The key was the suitability. Chapter 2997. Lin Feng. You don't look like a stupid person. God of Massacre Wang Yan would not underestimate Lin Feng. A super genius who could defeat Huang Zun's investiture of the gods was a fool? Those who treated him as a fool were the real fools. Since Lin Feng dared to accept this life and death battle, it proved that he was at least confident in his own strength. How could a godly master defeat a universe master? It was clear if one put themselves in his shoes. His attainments in the path of dreams are quite high. God of Massacre Wang Yan admired Lin Feng very much. When he was a godly master, he could not do what Lin Feng did. Even now, he could not have such comprehensive abilities in the path of dreams. However, Lin Feng did it. He was not weak in any of the 3 aspects of the path of dreams. All of them were far beyond his current level. Since ancient times, there were only a handful of people who could do this. Lin Feng will not fight me in close combat. This is not his strength, nor is it a power that can surpass 2 levels. In terms of the internal universe, he is irresistible. His only chance of winning is the soul of the universe. I am the soul of the universe, so he must be the soul of the universe too. However, his attainments in the soul of the universe must be very deep. I have no advantage in this aspect. As soon as the battle begins, he will immediately launch a soul attack. This is the node. If I can block it, he will definitely lose. If I can't block it, God of Massacre Wang Yan's eyes flashed. This was impossible. He believed that his mental cultivation level was good and his willpower was not weak. Moreover, he had the world Hongmeng origin guarding the soul of the universe. In addition to the crushing power of the internal universe, Wang Yan was absolutely confident that Lin Feng could not break through his soul defense. If Lin Feng was now a great power, he might be worried. However, Lin Feng was only a godly master. Lin Feng, you underestimate the universe master. In today's battle, I will use my strength to show you how big the gap between a godly master and a universe master is. When you revive in the future, you will remember this battle forever. The ruler of the universe is not someone you can afford to offend. Whoosh! Killing God Wang Yen pulled out his black saber, his killing intent bursting out. As a true powerhouse, no matter who his opponent was, he would fight with 100% of his strength. He wouldn't underestimate his opponent. The intense killing intent formed a perfect resonance with his internal universe. Wang Yan's aura grew stronger. In front of him, Lin Feng's figure seemed to be visible. He's here. The two of them are getting close. I'm looking forward to it. The battle is about to begin. Although there were only Lin Feng and Wang Yan on planet Neru, the cultivators of the entire Emperor Starfield were paying attention to this battle. This was especially true for the Taichu cultivators of Guanghua Xing and Emperor Star. They held their breaths and didn't even blink, afraid that they would miss the most exciting part of the battle. As a spectator, they could see everything. At this moment, Lin Feng was standing still. Killing God Wang Yan was like an assassin, quickly sneaking toward Lin Feng. As the distance between the two got closer and closer, a battle of life and death was about to begin. All the Taichu cultivators were on tenterhook. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, and the same powerful aura suddenly appeared. He's here. Killing God Wang Yan's heart skipped a beat. Although he wasn't afraid of Lin Feng's universe soul, he was still inexplicably nervous. His soul Hongming's origin defense was set up, waiting for Lin Feng's soul attack. Although he was confident in his speed, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't outrun the soul attack. First defend, then attack. Killing God Wang Yan already had a countermeasure in mind. Know yourself and know your enemy. Boom! A huge dark red power instantly enveloped him. That was an extremely powerful domain, the evolution of the internal universe. It was the most direct impact of power. When the dark red engravings appeared in front of him, Killing God Wang Yan's expression suddenly changed, and he was extremely shocked. It wasn't a soul attack? A domain type Hongming's origin item? Killing God Wang Yan reacted quickly, but Lin Feng had already appeared in front of him. Wang Yan didn't expect Lin Feng to give up the universe soul attack and choose to fight in close combat. It was simply inexplicable. Stupid. Killing God Wang Yan's eyes were cold and disdainful. He didn't care about Lin Feng's sudden change of strategy. Close combat? That was exactly what he wanted. Lin Feng had no hope of winning against the suppression of his internal universe. Something's not right. Killing God Wang Yan's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly realized that his internal universe seemed to be blocked by the dark red Hongming's origin item and couldn't suppress Lin Feng's internal universe. What was going on? Even if it was a domain-type Hongming's origin item, it shouldn't be like this. Before he had time to think, Lin Feng's blade had already arrived, and it was flickering with golden light. Lin Feng's speed was much faster than Killing God Wang Yan's expectations. Moreover, Lin Feng's state gave Killing God Wang Yan a very bad premonition. It wasn't a perfect origin power, nor was it a universe power, and it definitely wasn't a large universe power like his. What was that? Initial Meng power. The moment the two battle blades touched, God Killer Wang Qi's expression changed greatly. The initial Meng power was rare even among the Almighties. It was something that only the mind cultivators who had extremely deep attainments in the Meng Dao could possess. No, it's not initial Meng power. Peng! In an instant, Killing God Wang Yan was forced back by Lin Feng. This was the most direct collision of power. If Lin Feng only possessed initial Meng power, it would be impossible for him to be stronger than his large universe power. However, Lin Feng possessed golden initial Meng power, which was comparable to the Hongmeng power of the ruler of the universe. It was even stronger than the large universe power. If Killing God Wang Yan possessed a super large universe power, it would be enough to contend with or even suppress Lin Feng. However, killing god Wang Yen didn't possess such a large universe power. He actually possesses a golden initial Meng body? Killing god Wang Yen found it hard to imagine that a godly venerate would have such attainments in Meng Dao. In the entire Taichu origin chaotic universe, no cultivator below the level of an almighty possessed a golden initial Meng body. In the entire Hongmeng Sea, there was only one Yuan venerate who possessed a golden initial Meng body. However, Lin Feng was only a godly venerate. At that moment, killing god Wang Yen wasn't just forced back by Lin Feng. His entire mind was in a daze. It was too shocking. Oh my god, what did I just see? That's a golden initial Meng body, the golden initial Meng body that all mind cultivators yearn for. This is crazy. I actually saw a golden initial Meng body on a godly venerate. How can almighties like us endure this? Oh my god, what a terrifying newcomer! What a monstrous genius! Every time Lin Feng appears, he is extraordinary. Last time, he swept through Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. This time, he is even more terrifying. Regardless of whether he wins or loses today's battle, Lin Feng's name will definitely shake the entire Emperor Star Field. The Taichu cultivators were deeply shocked. This battle had far exceeded their expectations. More than 99% of heart cultivators would not be able to condense a first enlightenment body after breaking through to become a mighty figure, let alone a golden first enlightenment body. In the history of the primordial sea, very few mighty figures possessed a golden first enlightenment body. However, Lin Feng was only a godly venerate. Chapter 2998. Azura Wang Yen wasn't weak. He had reached the standard of a universe dominator in all aspects. He was definitely an average universe dominator. Besides, he cultivated the slaughter Dao and was more proficient in combat. However, his opponent, Lin Feng, was stronger. The weakest link was the internal universe. Because of the world embodiment, even though Azura Wang Yen had a domain-type Hongmeng origin item, the world embodiment was also a type of domain. Besides, Lin Feng's golden primeval power wasn't inferior to Azura Wang Yan's great universe power. It might even be stronger. There were 3 levels of suppression. The first was the suppression of the internal universe. The second was the suppression of the power level. The third was the realm and laws. Unfortunately, Azura Wang Yen couldn't even suppress Lin Feng with his realm laws. Destroy. Lin Feng's 7 moves of the Tathagata insight had been executed in conjunction with his world incarnation. In the battle against the God King of Slaughter, Lin Feng wasn't an opponent at all. His world incarnation was the only one out of the 1,888 that had reached the Paragon level. 6th level Hongmeng laws, great perfection. Even though Lin Feng couldn't unleash the absolute power of the mountain core and didn't have the connection of the great world embodiment, it was enough to crush Azura Wang Yen. His slaughter Dao was at the great perfection level 5, and the lesser success level 6. The gap was too big. Boom! Lin Feng, who had the absolute advantage, forced Azura Wang Yen into a desperate situation. The latter wasn't a pushover either. His saber and blade technique were both above Lin Feng's. As a universe dominator, he wouldn't be passive and take a beating. Clang! Azura Wang Yen shouted. His body expanded, and hair grew on his body like inverted spikes. His face was red like a devil's. The power of the great universe was burning, and his internal universe exploded. Azura state. This was Wang Bei at full power, at 120 HP. The title of Killing God was not for nothing. Flaws. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The golden primal power could be released externally, but it could also be stored internally. It was a perfect combination. Driven by the Black Crystal Mountain's secret technique, Lin Feng's soul was greatly shaken. Lin Feng directly pierced towards Wang Yen. Pung! Killing God Wang Yen, who was in the midst of his outburst, blushed. Chi! Plop! The soul defense of Hongmeng's source items was very strong, and killing god Wang Yan had indeed made sufficient soul defense preparations. However, he was no longer the same person he had been at the beginning of the battle. Lin Feng's golden primal power was far stronger than Wang Yan had imagined. Pooh! Killing god Wang Yan spat out a mouthful of blood as he staggered backwards, his eyes filled with fear. Impossible to guard against. He had blocked Lin Feng's soul attack, but this time, the soul attack had directly destroyed his killing god state, causing him to suffer heavy injuries. It's over. Lin Feng had already understood killing god Wang Yan's strength. The killing god state was indeed very strong, but it was even stronger on the soul. Any increase in strength would require a price. With Lin Feng's current soul attack, he couldn't kill Wang Yan, but it was more than enough to destroy the killing god state. Qi. The golden light enveloped killing god Wang Yan, and the dark red engravings began to fluctuate violently. Deep ripples appeared, and the entire area was rapidly compressed from the outside to the inside, trapping Wang Yan in all directions. While he was down, kill him. In a life-and-death battle, Lin Feng wouldn't show any mercy. Damn it! Wang Yan held his battle blade and attacked crazily, but at this moment, it was as if he was trapped in the enemy's formation. His universe power was rapidly being consumed, but Lin Feng's world incarnation didn't consume the golden primal power. Instead, it consumed the world incarnation's Hongmeng energy. Moreover, Lin Feng didn't need any special control. His blade technique is indeed stronger than mine. The battle with killing god Wang Yan was of great help to Lin Feng. Universe dominators were far superior to supreme beings in all aspects, and Wang Yan majored in blade techniques. His blade technique realm and self-created blade techniques were all above Lin Feng's, which gave Lin Feng a lot of inspiration. However, there was no way to reverse the situation. Hong! Planet Neru shook violently. A life-and-death battle ended with the death of killing god Wang Yan. Universe dominators were often difficult to kill, and they had treasures. However, Planet Neru had a strong restriction, and Lin Feng's world incarnation was too strong. When Lin Feng had the upper hand, he could use one world incarnation after another to suppress his opponent. Unless the opponent had a heaven-defying treasure, they would eventually be exhausted. There was a limit to the internal universe. Lin Feng's world incarnation had an absolute advantage in numbers. 1,888 XIN world incarnations weren't Lin Feng's strongest strength. However, it was enough to win this warm-up. He won. Wow. He really won. Killing god Wang Yan, universe dominator, lost to an ultimate god. Overturning the heavens. Guanghua Xing lost a lot of face this time. They wanted to bully others and challenge an ultimate god, but not only did he accept the challenge, but he even killed him. Ha 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 ha. It's too embarrassing. A universe dominator was killed by an ultimate god. Poor Wang Yan, his reputation is ruined. Guanghua Xing suffered a great loss this time. With Wang Yan's death, they lost a 6-star cultivator. Their ranking dropped by at least 20 places. The Emperor's starfield was in an uproar. A group of Taichu cultivators sighed. No one thought highly of ultimate god Lin Feng before the competition. Not only did he explode with the legendary golden initial power, but he also killed killing god Wang Yan with an unstoppable attack. It was an understatement, like a gentle breeze. Wang Yan had fallen. What a terrifying power! What was even more terrifying was that it appeared in the body of a human ultimate god. Good! Tianqing Star-Lord couldn't help but clench his fists and shout. He felt good. He was also paying attention to this competition. As the Star-Lord of the Emperor Star-Lord who had just roped in Lin Feng, Tianqing Star-Lord needed this top-notch competition to prove himself. Lin Feng would become the face of the Emperor Star-Lord. It's time, husband. Empress Luoyan smiled and looked at Tianqing Star-Lord. She and her husband had already discussed when to announce Lin Feng's joining of the Emperor Star-Lord. After all, Lin Feng was a 7-star cultivator. There were only 4 planets in the Emperor's starfield with 7-star cultivators, and the Emperor's Star Lord would be the 5th. However, because Lin Feng was a ultimate god, rashly announcing it would not have a good effect. Instead, it would cause all kinds of doubts and speculation. This was not a good thing for both the Emperor's Star Lord and Lin Feng. But now, all the drawbacks had disappeared. In the midst of Lin Feng's battle, all of them turned into smoke and dissipated. In the entire Emperor's starfield, no Taichu cultivator doubted Lin Feng's strength anymore. A cultivator who could kill a universe ruler in a battle of life and death, whether or not he was an almighty, was not important. The Hongmengsi only valued strength. Lin Feng was a well-deserved 7-star cultivator. The Emperor's starfield is about to be shaken. Tianqing's Star Lord smiled and threw out this bombshell. Chapter 2999. Lin Feng joined the Emperor Wei Star? What? Lin Feng isn't a resident of the Emperor Wei Star? Damn it. What do intelligence agents eat when they grow up? Such a talent has appeared in the Emperor's starfield, and we didn't receive any news about it. A bunch of idiots. I'm so angry. Damn it. Tianqing, that henpecked man, took the lead and missed such a monstrous talent. Damn it. The Emperor Wei Star is really lucky to get a 7-star cultivator for free. It's going to become a hot steamed bun in the Emperor's starfield. Lin Feng is too famous among the younger generation of Taichu cultivators. Ran? And not only that, Lin Feng also killed a universe ruler and stole the limelight. Lin Feng's name shook the Emperor's starfield. Just as the celestial Star Lord said, the Emperor's starfield was shaken when the news spread. An ultimate god killing a universe ruler was already heaven-defying. The celestial Star Lord threw out the news that Lin Feng was a 7-star cultivator and caused a huge commotion. What did this mean? Even the army was sure of Lin Feng's strength. Although the Taichu cultivators in the Emperor's starfield had witnessed Lin Feng's strength from the battle, the army's affirmation made them even more confident. Lin Feng was really strong. An ultimate god, a 7-star cultivator. That's heaven-defying. Little Hong Daorui is only a 5-star Taichu cultivator. There's a 2-star difference. He can't compare. Huang Zunshirui could still compete with Lin Feng, but now the gap is getting bigger. Lin Feng is already standing in a place that Shirui can't reach. To be honest, an ultimate god can kill a universe ruler. Can you imagine that? It's not just little Hong Daorui. The 5 origin chaotic universes don't have such a heaven-defying talent. Only our Taichu has one. Ha! I'm afraid only the 5 world lords have such strength. Comparing Lin Feng to the World Lord was undoubtedly the greatest affirmation of Lin Feng. Each of the World Masters was the strongest expert in the Hongmengsi, an invincible expert who stood at the peak of the Hongmengsi. They were the top existences in the 5 Taichu Origins Chaos Universe. Dao Monarch of Primal Chaos, Empress of Thousand Blood, Fan Zhu, Lord of Creation, Dao Wuji. There was no order in the rankings. World Master. Lin Feng had already entered the dual polarity tower in Hongmeng. In the investiture of the gods, the battle with Wang Yan was just a warm-up. The next challenge was the real battle with the 14 godly generals. 10 of them were universe masters. Although Lin Feng had swept through Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, he had not achieved a true ranking. Only after his final battle with the Scarlet Fire Monarch did he enter the top 3. Genesis Supreme, Gu Huang. He's not one of the 5 world lords. What kind of terror could cause such a super expert to fall? Lin Feng was very curious. In Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, the first of the 7 godly generals was Genesis Supreme, Gu Huang. There was no exception. The other experts in the history of the Hongmengsi were only fighting for 2nd or 3rd. There were a few familiar powerful existences. Qian Chou Shui Amon. Lin Feng didn't know before, but now he knew. Qian Cho Shui was the only woman among the 5 world lords. She was Empress of Thousand Blood. As for Tai Su Amon, savage monarch. Tai Su origin chaotic universe, one of the strongest universe lords at the top of the pyramid. He was very famous in the Hongmeng Sea. The divine venerate's investiture of the gods was very different from Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. Huang Zun's strength did not mean that the divine venerate's strength was strong, and the divine venerate's strength did not mean that Huang Zun's strength was strong. Many cultivators only began to unleash their potential when they became godly venerates. For example, Wu Dao, one of the 5 world lords, Tai Chi Limitless Dao. Lin Feng had not seen his name on Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, but he had seen him on the divine venerate's investiture of the gods. The first godly general, Buluo Gu, was ranked 18th on the investiture of the gods list. Although he didn't squeeze into the top 10, he could be said to have soared into the sky when he was a godly venerate compared to when he was Huang Zun. 1. Genesis Supreme Gu Huang. 2. Tai Qian Cho Shui. The investiture of the gods list had always been the same. Since Qian Cho Shui was ranked 2nd on the investiture of the gods list, she had been firmly occupying the 2nd position and wanted to compete with Gu Huang. However, she was unable to shake Gu Huang's position at the top. If there's a chance, I should ask Fan Zhu about Gu Huang's deeds. Such a strong esper, how did he fall? Lin Feng really wanted to know. When Gu Huang was a godly venerate, his strength was above his own. His combat strength was comparable to the master of the universe. How could he fall? If Gu Huang became a powerful existence, his strength would be hard to estimate. If he didn't become a powerful existence, he would definitely be resurrected. I wonder what rank I can be ranked as the first godly general Buluo Gu? Lin Feng really wanted to know what his current ranking was among the godly venerates in the history of the Hongmeng Sea. After becoming a world esper, his strength as a godly venerate had been cultivated to the extreme, especially in the various basic aspects of Meng Dao. Although there were still some deficiencies in terms of control and realm, Lin Feng knew very well that if he wanted to break through again, there would be a huge obstacle. After all, the shackles of being a godly venerate were still huge. Investiture of the gods. 14 separate spaces. Each space was like a huge cage trapping a peerless esper. With a flash of light, Lin Feng could easily enter each space. The god generals here were much stronger than the 7 god generals in Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. Even the weakest Buluo Gu was stronger than the strongest in Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, the Fire Emperor. Swish Lin Feng entered Buluo Ji's investiture god space. The investiture of the gods challenge was deeply rooted in everyone's heart because each challenge was a life and death battle. They weren't fictional strong espers, but transcendent existences who had been trapped in the investiture of the gods for countless years. Every single one of them had once possessed brilliant battle achievements in the primordial ocean. Unfortunately, in the end, because of their evil deeds, they were all trapped in the investiture of the gods and became eternal history. Golden Initial Force. This time, Lin Feng didn't want to waste any time and went all out from the start. Even if Buluo Ji's strength was only at the limit, which was far weaker than killing God Wang Yan. This was because this time, Lin Feng wanted to fight for a ranking. Destroy. The world incarnation entered, and the dark red engravings condensed and exploded. The power of destruction was extremely strong. Lin Feng's saber rumbled as it struck Buluo Gu, who was in front of him, until he screamed and his face was covered in dirt. You still want to escape? Lin Feng's eyes sharpened as he slashed down with his saber. Chi. No one was a match for the saber. Buluo Gu was only at the limit, and there was a clear difference in strength between him and Lin Feng. Instantly, he transformed into a beam of white light and disappeared. He didn't die because he was protected by the investiture of the gods. However, the pain of death would be deeply engraved over and over again, just like the reincarnation of hell. Whoosh, there was a change in the investiture of the gods. In Buluo Ji's investiture of the gods ranking, a new rank was added. Chapter 3010, Taichu Lin Feng. Lin Feng was very satisfied with his ranking on the ultimate god list. It was higher than he had expected. He had expected to be in the top 20, but he had not expected to be in the top 10. The number of ultimate gods who could leave their names on the ultimate god list was much higher than Huang Zun's. Firstly, it was because there were 14 divine generals on the divine supremacy investiture list. Secondly, many cultivators had advanced by leaps and bounds since they were divine supremacies. It was not rare for a divine supremacy to defeat an ultimate mighty figure. In the Hongmeng Sea, other than Lin Feng, there were 2 or 3 divine supremacies who could do it. However, it was a bit exaggerated to be like Lin Feng and enter the top 10 in history. 9. Taichu Lin Feng. 11. Taichu Lin Feng. 12. Taichu Lin Feng. With lightning speed, Lin Feng defeated the 4 weakest godly generals on the investiture of the gods list. Of the 14 godly generals, only these 4 were pinnacle great beings. The other 10 were universe masters. It was very easy. Lin Feng's battle results were also very stable. They were all around the top 10. Another useless reward. Lin Feng came out of the investiture god space. The investiture god reward was one of the main reasons for challenging the investiture god list. Any of the 3 options was quite good. However, Lin Feng's standards were too high. Ordinary Hongmeng origin items would not catch Lin Feng's eye. Lin Feng would at least be interested in the universe Hongmeng origin items. However, these godly generals' rewards were not at that level. Hence, the first and second options were basically decorations. Lin Feng chose the third option, cultivation, of the 4 godly generals' rewards. Absolute arts, heavenly Tao comprehension, places to cultivate, etc. Unfortunately, none of them were suitable. I hope the next one will be better. Lin Feng adjusted his breathing slightly and entered the 5th god investiture space. Compared to the previous 4 godly generals, the 5th godly venerable level godly general's strength had obviously improved. He was now the master of the universe. Lin Feng didn't have high hopes for the rewards of the previous 4 immortal generals. However, the 5th immortal general, Moss Monster, was a saber user. The rewards of each immortal general were often inextricably linked to the immortal general itself. Therefore, it didn't mean that the reward of the Moss Monster would definitely be suitable. At least, it was more likely to be suitable. In the Emperor Starfield, the battle where Lin Feng killed Wang Yan was still brewing. News of it spread everywhere, and his fame shook the world. But at this moment, an even more shocking piece of news spread, and it caused all the cultivators in the Imperial Starfield to be stirred. Lin Feng had once again challenged the investiture of the gods. Although Lin Feng had killed Wang Yan, which was enough to prove that his battle strength was comparable to that of a universe master and that he could challenge the godly venerable investiture of the gods, it was one thing to know, and another to see Lin Feng actually challenge it. The investiture of the gods challenge was a grand event in the entire Hongmeng Sea. I knew that Lin Feng would definitely challenge the investiture of the gods, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. That's right. Does this mean that Lin Feng has just killed Wang Yan, and he's already challenging the investiture of the gods? That's too cruel. Lin Feng doesn't care about Wang Yan at all. He's already challenged 4 in a row, and now Lin Feng is challenging the 5th Moss Monster. Amazing! The worst is ranked 12th, and the best is even in the top 10. He's on par with the top geniuses of the Hongmeng Sea. Lin Feng is even stronger than Huang Zun at the same time. When Huang Zun had just challenged the investiture of the gods, Lin Feng's ranking was very low, and it was very difficult to notice him. But now that the godly venerable investiture of the gods was challenging the investiture of the gods, it was difficult for him to not be noticed. The Imperial Starfield had already noticed it when Lin Feng killed the first Divine General, Brog Go, and the various superpowers had already noticed it. As the favorite of the Taichu, Lin Feng's every move was closely watched, especially when he challenged the investiture of the gods. He had made the Taichu proud. Every record he left behind was a new breakthrough. I wonder how far Lin Feng will go? East Sea Demon Monk, Prince Yaohua, or the strongest Yu ancestor? East Sea Demon Monk, probably. Lin Feng will always explode in the end, so the previous rankings aren't accurate. East Sea Demon Monk's investiture of the gods has 9 names, and I believe Lin Feng will be able to enter. As for Prince Yaohua, he only has 6 names, so it'll be difficult. I think Lin Feng will be able to fight to the end. Wasn't Huang Zun's investiture of the gods? However, it's hard to say if he can defeat Yu Ancestor. After all, Yu Ancestor is much stronger than Nightmare Fire Emperor, and he only has 3 names in the investiture of the gods. It'll be much more difficult. The investiture of the gods is even more difficult than Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. It'll only get more difficult as it progresses. Even Dao Wuji, one of the 5 world masters, couldn't defeat East Sea Demon Monk in the investiture of the gods. It'll definitely be difficult to challenge someone of a higher realm. Huang Zun's investiture of the gods only challenged powerful existences, but the investiture of the gods will challenge universe rulers at the end. No matter how heaven-defying Lin Feng is, he won't be able to continue. No matter what, we'll support Lin Feng. He's the pride of the Taichu. That's right. It's because Lin Feng defeated Huang Zun's investiture of the gods that we Taichu cultivators can hold our heads high. The other cultivators in the Origin Chaos universe are so envious of us. Ha 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 ha. The Taichu Origin Chaos universe was bustling with noise and excitement. The Hongmeng world was packed with cultivators. They were all gathered in the investiture of the gods to witness Lin Feng create history with their own eyes. Even though they knew that Lin Feng didn't have a high chance of defeating the investiture of the gods, no matter where Lin Feng went, they would still support him. This was because Lin Feng represented not only himself but also every Taichu Origin Chaos universe and every Taichu cultivator. It's out. Look, the investiture of the gods ranking of the Moss's monster is out. Lin Feng, 13th. He dropped another place. 13th place is already very impressive. The Moss's monster is a universe ruler. Lin Feng killed him, which proves that he's on par with a universe ruler. He doesn't need to prove it. You guys aren't up to date. The Emperor Starfield has already heard that Lin Feng killed a universe ruler in a battle of life and death before he challenged the investiture of the gods. Really? He's too strong. I heard about it too. A divine master killed a universe ruler. TSK. Awesome. The group of cultivators was waiting for Lin Feng to make another glorious achievement and continue to challenge the monsters. However, the development of the situation was beyond their expectations. Lin Feng suddenly vanished without a trace after challenging the mortal moss monster. He stopped at the 5th deity general and didn't continue. What happened? I don't know. Why didn't Lin Feng continue to challenge? Did he fail? Or is there some other reason? I think Lin Feng is disappointed with the ranking. The ranking has been dropping since the 1st deity general. With Lin Feng's pride, it's hard for him to accept it. I think he's going to continue to cultivate. That makes sense. Let's wait for Lin Feng's good news. When he finishes his cultivation, the next challenge should be a direct one. No rush. He's still young. Chapter 3001. Lin Feng was indeed cultivating in seclusion. It was not because he was disappointed in his battle results, but because the small world avatar's Hongmeng energy had been depleted. After continuous battles, Lin Feng also discovered the drawback of the small world avatar, which was that its energy was depleted too quickly. The accumulation of 300 eras was depleted in a few battles. Of course, this was only one of the 1,888 small world avatars. The other 1,887 small world avatars, including the great world avatars, did not consume Hongmeng energy. However, Lin Feng was the only one who had reached perfection in the Tier 6 Hongmeng nomological law, destruction. Lin Feng could not replenish Hongmeng energy with this small world avatar because his internal universe had yet to reach that level. All he could do was wait for the small world avatar to absorb Hongmeng energy on its own. Wait another few hundred eras? Lin Feng did not have that much time to waste. Although he could not help absorb Hongmeng energy, he could comprehend other Hongmeng nomological laws. Every time he comprehended a destruction Hongmeng nomological law, it meant that he could use one of the small world avatars. Regardless of whether it was in terms of cultivation or efficiency, this was the best method. Especially since Lin Feng had already comprehended one of the Hongmeng nomological laws to perfection. With this foundation, comprehending the second and third laws would be much easier. Apart from that, there was another reason. A new saber technique. 3 Mosses Ultimate. This was the reward Lin Feng received for killing the Mosses sea monster. It was a saber technique absolute art. After battling the Mosses sea monster, Lin Feng knew its abilities very well. The Mosses sea monster's saber technique was far superior to his. Just like killing God Wang Yen, his opponent's saber technique was far superior to his own. Whether it was the saber technique or the realm. Perfected intent heavenly Tao, this is the saber technique used by a universe dominator. Whether it was killing God Wang Yen or the Mosses sea monster, their saber techniques had reached the pinnacle and were connected to the Hongmeng Sea. The universe dominator's internal universe was fully mature, so their comprehension was much higher than that of a mighty figure. Sharp Ultimate. Sharp Ultimate. Explosive Ultimate. The 3 deadly Mosses and Tai Cheongjian's blade technique were completely different. The 7 moves created by his teacher were all-encompassing, incorporating the true essence of saber techniques into them. There were single-target attacks, group attacks, and even defensive saber technique. However, the 3 despairs of Mosses took an unconventional approach and attacked until the very end. Different experiences, different personalities, and different saber technique. His teacher was in charge of a large faction. His saber techniques were stable and comprehensive, without any flaws. Every Moss monster was a bully. Whether it was their nature or their personality, they would go all the way. It was the same for their sword technique. There was no difference between the 3 ultimates, only their specialties and tendencies were different. Cultivate the saber art and comprehend the saber art realm. Lin Feng longed to reach the perfect heavenly Tao conception and the universe dominator level of blade techniques, but this path was not easy to walk. After all, the comprehension of intent realm was illusory. If he could comprehend it, he could comprehend it in a day or a year. If he couldn't comprehend it, 10 eras and 100 eras would all be for naught. 10 eras. If you can't comprehend it, you pass. Directly break through to the Yuan Venerate. Lin Feng didn't want to waste too much time on the Supreme God list. After refining and integrating with a world esper, Lin Feng could completely break through and become a Yuan Venerate. It wasn't appropriate to shackle himself in the same place just to challenge the Supreme God list. The Supreme God list was very important, and the rewards were good, but that didn't mean that Lin Feng would change his goal and rhythm for it. It would be great if he could sweep the Supreme God list, but Lin Feng wouldn't persist if he couldn't. His goal had never been to sweep the Supreme God list. 10 eras was enough. For Lin Feng, there was no need to waste any more time if he still couldn't comprehend the 3 deadly Mosses after 10 eras. Of course, this wasn't necessarily because his comprehension was poor. It could be that this set of saber techniques wasn't suitable for him, or that the timing wasn't right. There was no need to persist in this pointless way. All his basic abilities had been maxed out, and the others weren't that important. time flew by. The Taichu cultivators, with the army as the core, were at war with the Zerg race in the Miluo Toa territory. The entire Taichu origin chaotic universe was in a state of panic, especially since the army had gathered a lot of top forces this time. The news spread like wildfire. However, the Taichu cultivators were quite confident in the army. The Taichu hadn't experienced an outbreak of insect plagues once or twice. Every time, they had survived the crisis with the army's protection. This time was no exception. Moreover, Fan Zhu was there. Although the insect plagues were terrible, the Taichu was very strong. It's been 10 eras, but Lin Feng hasn't made any moves. I asked my friends in the Emperor's Star Field. Lin Feng has been cultivating in seclusion these days and has never left the Lin Mansion. It seems that he is preparing to challenge the remaining Supreme God list. I'm looking forward to it. I hope that Lin Feng can amaze everyone when he comes out of seclusion, break through the boundary in one fell swoop, and surprise the other origin chaotic universes. I think it will work. Lin Feng has never disappointed us. Haha, you guys don't know this, but in the 10th era, the Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield is full of cultivators. Who doesn't want to get to know Lin Feng? The pavilion closest to him enjoys the moonlight first. Lin Feng is already so strong now. When he becomes an almighty in the future, his strength will be off the charts. It is very likely that he will become the next world lord. Even if he can't reach Fan Zhu's level, he will definitely be a super expert at the top of the Taichu pyramid. If we can get to know him now, there will be no disadvantages. The Emperor's Star Field was very lively. The Bearing Star Lord was already grinning from ear to ear. There were many Taichu cultivators who had joined in the 10th era. The Emperor Starfield's Emperor Starfield was originally ranked 39th, but after Lin Feng joined, it jumped to 5th place. After Lin Feng defeated Killing God Wang Yan, it climbed to 4th place. In the past 10 eras, although there was no news about Lin Feng, the Emperor Starfield's ranking was still steadily rising. Now, it was ranked 2nd in the Emperor Starfield, second only to the Emperor Starfield's capital star. The Emperor Star Field has really met a benefactor and soared to the sky. The Bearing Star Lord was very satisfied. He also didn't expect that his fate would change because of a mere supreme god. The current Bearing Star Lord was very famous in the Emperor's Star Field. So, husband, you must remember to hold on to Lin Feng well. Don't let go. Empress Luoyan carefully warned, if Lin Feng leaves, the Emperor's Star Field will plummet and return to its original state. Madam, don't worry. I have already investigated. The Bearing Star Lord was not stupid. He smiled and said, Lin Feng has 2 good brothers, Shirwan Li and Yuan, as well as a teacher, Venerable Wan Yuan. As long as you love them, treat them well. Empress Luoyan lightly nodded. Lin Feng is our most important person. Husband, you must not offend him. The Bearing Star Lord narrowed his eyes. Of course not. We still need to rely on Lin Feng to surpass the Emperor Starfield and become the true leader of the Emperor Starfield. As long as Lin Feng is here, it is only a matter of time before our Emperor Starfield dominates. Empress Luoyan was very confident. I think so too. The Bearing Star Lord laughed. Chapter 3002. Taking a day off for Blade Shatters the Galaxy. Please wait for a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 3003. In the Space of the Investiture of Gods. Hey, isn't that? It's Lin Feng. Lin Feng is going to challenge the Investiture of Gods again. Quick, report it to our superiors. All the superpowers had their staff watching the space of the Investiture of Gods. They recognized Lin Feng as soon as he appeared. After disappearing for less than 10 eras, Lin Feng reappeared, causing the surface of the lake that had just calmed down to ripple. The Taichu cultivators were all waiting for Lin Feng to challenge the Investiture of Gods. Even the great beings from the other origin chaos universe were looking forward to Lin Feng's achievements and how far he could go in the investiture of gods. Huang Zun was strong, but that didn't mean the investiture of gods was also strong. Evil sob. Lin Feng entered the sixth space of the investiture of gods. It was a great being from the demon race with a hideous face and fangs that were like two sharp blades. 2 lines of blood-red demonic engravings that looked like tears of blood hung on his body. He gave off an extremely evil aura. His power was comparable to that of killing god Wang Yan, whom Lin Feng had killed in the life-and-death battle. Moreover, they all cultivated the slaughtering Dao. Unfortunately, they're only at the 5th stage slaughter Dao. If it had been a level 6 slaughter Dao, it might have been able to pose a threat to Lin Feng, but a level 5 slaughter Dao was only at the level of an ordinary universe ruler. Evil Sob wasn't much stronger than Wang Yan. He wasn't Lin Feng's match before, let alone after 10 eras. Lin Feng was now stronger than he had been 10 eras ago. He had reached perfection in the 3 absolutes of Moss Clan. Next, Lin Feng didn't look at the ranking because he didn't want to waste time. His battle intent was at its peak, and his blood was boiling after the battle with Evil Sob. The 7th deity general was killed. The 8th deity general was killed. The 9th deity general was also killed. After coming out of seclusion, Lin Feng's battle prowess was incomparably valiant, especially his attainments in saber techniques. In terms of pure offensive power, the triple mosquito blade technique was even stronger than the Tai Chi blade technique. Lin Feng's ranking also rose as a result. 6th, 7th, 5th. Lin Feng has made it to 5th place in the Ultimate God ranking. Amazing! Lin Feng has broken the Taichu Supreme God's investiture of the God's record. Haha, Lin Feng has really made us Taichu cultivators proud. These 10 eras weren't wasted. Lin Feng has already raised his battle prowess to the peak of the Ultimate God venerable rank. Now it's settled. He'll definitely be able to make it to the final 3 gods of the Ultimate God list. The Eastern Sea Divine Monk, Prince Yaohura, and Ancestor Yu. The 3 gods of the Ultimate God list, especially Ancestor Yu, only had 3 names in the Ultimate God list. His strength could be said to be the peak of the Ultimate God list. The 3 experts who left their names in Ancestor Yu's investiture of the gods list were all terrifying existences in the Hongmeng Sea. Guhuang, Qian Chou Shui, Amon. Lin Feng had already come out of the investiture of the gods. His murderous aura made it difficult to approach him. After killing the 11th deity general, Lin Feng's investiture of the gods list stopped at 4th place, just behind the 3 strongest ultimate gods in the history of the Hongmeng Sea. The last 3 deity generals had not been challenged. Now, I only need a top-level saber. Lin Feng knew his weakness. It was difficult for him to perfectly transmit his power when his saber was turned to dust. Even so, Lin Feng could not change his saber for the time being. A saber was like an arm. Every time he changed it, he needed to adapt to it again. It was difficult to use the original saber's power in a short period of time. The higher the level of the saber, the more difficult it was. Weapons had spirit. Lin Feng could now obtain a better saber than turn to dust, but he did not have the time to adapt to a new saber. Furthermore, Turn to Dust was an old friend of his who had been on the battlefield for a long time. Lin Feng wanted to complete the investiture of the gods list with it. It would not be too late to change his saber after he became a Yuan Venerate. Dong Hai Divine Monk, a top-notch universe ruler. The 3 deity generals on the investiture of the gods list were strong because their strength was much higher than the other universe ruler deity generals. One was an ordinary universe ruler, while the other was a top-notch universe ruler. It was equivalent to the difference between a Taichu marshal and a Hongmeng marshal. He was dressed in a monk's robe, had dark red eyebrows, and had a charming expression. He looked like both a woman and a man. Dong Hai Divine Monk had a lithe figure and smooth skin. He was the only one among the last 3 deity generals on the investiture of the gods list who had extremely deep attainments in the Hongji Dao and the Meng Dao. 6th level Hongmeng Law, Void Boundary. Meng Dao, Soul of the Great Universe. This was commonly practiced by universe rulers who walked the path of illusion. The void boundary and illusion complemented each other, and the perfect combination could even strengthen illusion to the extreme, making it indistinguishable from reality. The reason why illusions were called illusions was because they themselves were illusory. However, when everything in the illusion was close to the extreme reality, 9,999% real, it would be difficult to distinguish, and the great beings trapped in the illusion would think that they had broken through the illusion. Fall into oblivion forever, little fellow. Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion was terrifying. It could perfectly merge with reality and construct an illusion. The illusion was him, and he was the illusion. 6th level Hongmeng Law, Void Boundary, was perfect. Many universe rulers who knew Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion thought that they had broken through the illusion and killed him, but they did not know that there was an illusion within an illusion. You're just an ultimate god. You're dreaming if you think you can break through my illusion. This was Dong Hai Divine Monk's talent. He could see through the hearts of every universe ruler, including this little godly master in front of him. This was the pinnacle of an illusion-type great being. Seeing through a person's heart was the best way to deal the greatest damage to the cultivator in the illusion. Become the strongest in Hongmeng? Become the strongest expert in my heart insight illusion. Ha 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 ha! Dong Hai Divine Monk's evil laughter sent chills down one's spine. His charming expression was strange and demonic, and he was neither male nor female. There were at least 80,000 cultivators guarding the godly master list who had died in Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion, so it was reasonable for a mere godly master to take him down. However, suddenly, impossible! Dong Hai Divine Monk's eyes were filled with fear as his body trembled violently. Through those red eyes, one could vaguely see a human youth holding a sword in one hand. It was as though he had stepped out from the deepest part of the illusion. The figure was not tall, but his steps were firm and unshakable. Every step was as though he was stepping on the blue sky. Every step he took was like a sharp saber that cut deep into the Dong Hai Divine Monk's heart. Crack! That was a powerful sword intent, Lin Feng's powerful aura. He did not have a world incarnation. It was just one man and one sword. It was as though he had been reborn in the illusion. At this moment, Lin Feng's strength was unprecedentedly strong. The saber technique realm had climbed to the great perfection of the extreme limit. Thank you for your training. The sword turned into dust and fell from the sky, cutting Dong Hai Divine Monk's fragile body in half. He turned into a beam of white light and disappeared from the god's sealing space. Lin Feng 1. Chapter 3004. Lin Feng 1. He got out of the Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion. Amazing, the Divine Lord's willpower is so strong. Unfortunately, he's still a little short. He's only 4th. 4th place is already very good. The highest Taichu Divine Monk's investiture of the gods ranking was only 8. Even Qian Choshua was only 5th. Lin Feng has surpassed Qian Choshua for the first time. You can't compare it like that. I can only say that Lin Feng's ability to resist illusions is stronger than the 1000 Blood Empress. The entire Hongmeng Sea was paying attention. The news of Lin Feng challenging the Divine Lord's investiture of the gods spread like wildfire across the Hongmeng Sea. All the cultivators were watching Lin Feng create a new record. Now, the investiture of the gods ranking had increased from 9 names to 10. 4. Taichu Lin Feng. The impressive record pushed Qian Choshua to 5th place. Just as the cultivators were discussing, Lin Feng had surpassed Qian Choshua for the first time since Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. Gu Huang. Lin Feng stared at the name. It was like a mountain in front of him that he could never climb. He seemed to have no weaknesses and was always in first place. Even someone as strong as Qian Choshua had her weaknesses. She was ranked 5th in the battle against the Dong High Divine Monk, but Gu Huang was still in first place. Whether it was Huang Zun or the Divine Lord, Gu Huang was undoubtedly the strongest. He was invincible. Did the Thousand Blood Empress feel the same when she challenged Huang Zun's investiture of the gods and the Divine Lord's investiture of the gods? Lin Feng wanted to know if the legendary woman of the Hongmeng Sea felt the same way. She wanted to climb the unsurpassable mountain. She wanted to defeat Gu Huang. Even if it was only once. I still have 2 chances. Lin Feng adjusted his breathing and quickly recovered to his peak state. He took a deep breath. Only the last 2 divine commanders were left in the investiture of gods list, Prince Yao Hua and Yu Ancestor. Of the 2, one was proficient in the path of chaos while the other was proficient in the path of confusion. Of course, as the ruler of the universe, there was no such thing as a weakness. Prince Yao Hua. Compared to Yu Ancestor, Lin Feng was looking forward to fighting Prince Yao Hua more, because Prince Yao Hua was a master of the Tao of Mist. If Lin Feng could defeat Prince Yao Hua, Prince Yao Hua's reward would probably be what Lin Feng needed, no matter what. What he mainly cultivated was the Tao of pure guessing. Brilliant fire was the only flame in the Hongmeng Sea. Prince Yao Hua was a flame born from the Hongmeng Sea. In essence, he was very similar to the Mountain Core. However, Prince Yao Hua was slightly weaker than the Mountain Core, and he posed too much of a threat. The essence of flames was to burn. Burn all things and devour all things. Prince Yao Hua wasn't really evil, because it was his instinct. His connate body was refined by Yao Hua, and it was a super-universe body. Although he couldn't cultivate his soul, he still had the soul of the universe. Prince Yao Hua had no weaknesses in the Tao of Mist. Soul attacks and willpower attacks were ineffective against Prince Yao Hua. To deal with him, Lin Feng had to fight him head-on or use the laws of Hongmeng. Of course, if Lin Feng was as strong as Fan Zhu and Thousand Blood Queen, he would be able to kill Prince Yao Hua with his soul attack. Prince Yao Hua wasn't immune to soul and willpower attacks. However, it was impossible for the current divine masters to do so. Lin Feng's soul and willpower weren't that strong. However, Lin Feng's blade techniques were terrifying. Li Mo Extreme. Lin Feng had perfected all 3 moves of the 3 deadly mosses, and the battle with Dong Yu Godly Monk had tempered Lin Feng's heart for thousands of eras in the hollow heart illusion. Lin Feng's heart was like a saber that had been sharpened to the extreme. His saber intent had surpassed Ming Zhou's level and reached the perfected level of a universe dominator. He pierced through the flames and turned his blade into dust. Just like Lin Feng's willpower, he was invincible. Bang! Prince Yao Hua's attack was overwhelming. Endless flames engulfed Lin Feng, and endless power crushed him. There was no gap in any direction, testing Lin Feng's defense. However, Lin Feng, who cultivated the 3 absolutes of Moss, had completely let go of his defense and faced Prince Yao Hua head-on. Boom! 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 Lin Feng didn't let go of his defense, but he had the World Incarnation. He used the World Incarnation's enormous energy to resist the damage caused by the endless flames. Even so, the terrifying flames still brought severe pain to Lin Feng. Every attack made his body feel like it was burning. Without the World Incarnation, Lin Feng would have died long ago. Hongmeng's airflow was gentle as Lin Feng put all his combat power into the attack. Hongmeng's law of destruction couldn't be used. Once it was used, the World Incarnation's power would be weakened and it wouldn't be able to resist the endless flames. Lin Feng wanted to break the record, but it didn't mean that he would risk his life. This was enough. Lin Feng had seen the dawn of victory. Prince Yao Hua had no chance of winning. Let's end this. Lin Feng's fighting spirit climbed to the limit. The 3 Mosses' arts were fully displayed. The golden power of the first chaos combined with the World Incarnation completely suppressed Crown Prince Brilliant Flame. The continuous attacks forcefully extinguished his signature flame. At this moment, Lin Feng's blade techniques had reached the peak. Boom! That slash didn't just shatter Prince Yaohua, it also left a deep impression in the hearts of every cultivator who watched the battle. The golden initial power and great perfection blade technique were indescribably shocking. Most of them had never seen Prince Yaohua being killed. The apotheosis records in the Hongmeng Sea were from countless eras ago. Especially Prince Yaohua himself, there were only 6 names in the apotheosis ranking. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to kill him. Just the ability to resist the endless flames was enough to make ultimate venerable rank experts flinch. Prince Yaohua's defense was strong, and his attacks were indiscriminate. Even if he could be killed, it would usually be in mutual destruction. Only Lin Feng, who not only had powerful attacks but also a heaven-defying treasure like the World Incarnation, could fight Prince Yaohua head-on. This battle exhausted the energy of one of Lin Feng's World Incarnation. Lin Feng's loss wasn't small either. I hope Prince Yaohua's reward is worth the price. Lin Feng didn't really care. After all, he had comprehended 5 great perfection obliteration nomological laws in the past 10 eras. 4 had been exhausted in the continuous battle, but he still had 1 left to deal with the Yu ancestor. That was enough. Prince Yaohua's reward was Meng Jidao's reward. In Lin Feng's opinion, both were urgently needed, especially since he was about to become a Yuan Venerate. His basic abilities would undergo a complete transformation, so he yearned for such a reward. I wonder what Prince Yaohua's ranking is this time? Lin Feng wanted to know. Although his ranking might not be ideal, Lin Feng could accept the outcome since he had done his best in this battle. Chapter 3005 1. Tai Shi Gu Huang 2. Tai Yi Qian Chou Shui 3. Taichu Lin Feng. Prince Yaohua's investiture of the gods ranking was updated. Lin Feng was pleased to see that he had entered the top 3 of the ultimate god list for the first time. After all, there were only 6 people who could leave their names on Prince Yaohua's investiture of the gods ranking. The difficulty was obvious. Lin Feng hadn't had an easy time in this battle. Without the protection of the world embodiment, it would have been impossible to defeat Prince Yaohua. Even so, Gu Huang and Qian Chou Shui were still ranked above him. There's one more. Lin Feng looked at the last investiture of the gods, where Yu ancestor was. The ultimate god was the strongest of the 14 divine generals on the investiture of the gods. Everyone knew how strong Yu ancestor was, but he only had 3 names on the investiture of the gods ranking. The difficulty was even higher than Prince Yaohua's. This was the limit of the ultimate god challenge. Defeat him and become a Yuan Venerate. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was at its peak. He only needed to recover to 100% before he could challenge Yu ancestor. This was the last hurdle of the ultimate god path. If he won, he would receive a hidden reward from the ultimate god list. The hidden reward from Huang Zun's investiture of the gods was already quite good. The hidden reward from the ultimate god list would be even better. The ranking wasn't important in this final battle. Only 3 ultimate gods in the history of the Hongmeng Ocean had accomplished this feat. Even one of the current world masters, Dao Wuji, had failed. The Hongmeng Ocean was full of heated discussions about the previous battle. The battle in the investiture of the gods couldn't be recorded, nor could it be connected to a top-tier AI. One could only watch it from the Hongmeng world. Many cultivators who hadn't been able to watch the battle in time were annoyed. Such a battle might not happen even once in a million eras. Brilliant beyond compare. Lin Feng is so strong. He even defeated Prince Yaohua. He's not inferior to Prince Yaohua in any aspect. It's hard to imagine that an ultimate god could kill a top-tier universe master. They are all ultimate gods. How can the gap be so huge? The pride of our Taichu. In time, Lin Feng will be able to inherit Fan Zhu's legacy, and our Taichu will be like Tai, with 2 world lords. Ha 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 ha, you're thinking too much. Lin Feng is only an ultimate god. It's still too early for him to become a powerful being. He's still a long way from becoming a universe dominator. You're all thinking too far ahead. Let's wait for the final battle. The battle between Lin Feng and you Ancestor will be amazing. Cultivators from various chaotic universes poured into Hongmeng world, including many universe masters. However, most of the Taichu spectators were knights and great beings. Many powerful great beings and universe masters weren't present. They were currently fighting endlessly in the Miluo Tor realm. Insect plague. In the history of the Hongmeng Sea, there had been countless Zerg plagues. The Zergs had never thought of invading. They only hunted for prey in order to survive. They didn't exist in this dimension and didn't belong to the Hongmeng Sea. They had their own world. Because of this, the Zergs had to spend a lot of effort to invade from their own worlds into the Hongmeng Sea. They had succeeded in devouring most of the Tai Shur chaotic universe and almost annihilated it. But in the end, they failed. Taichu, Tai, Taiji, and Tai Su had all encountered Zerg plagues. Every moment in the Hongmeng Sea, a blackboard would appear in a corner of the universe. This was the passage connecting the Zerg world and the Hongmeng Sea. In the Miluo Tor realm, the battle was fierce. The first marshal's long golden tail hit the ground heavily. He crossed his arms and frowned. He couldn't hide his murderous intent. He was like an angry beast, ready to explode at any time. But as the commander of an army, he had to maintain absolute calm. Kalar, what's the situation now? The first marshal gritted his teeth. The army's 5 teams of Taichu Dominator elites have penetrated deep, said Kalar Hongmeng. The other powers have a total of 12 teams of Taichu Dominator elite. However, they're all fighting for themselves. They don't listen to our arrangements. They're already giving us face by being willing to help, said the first marshal. These were all universe dominators from various powers. Across the Hongmeng Sea, they were all famous figures. Many of them were top-tier universe dominators, and the strongest were even pinnacle universe dominators. They were on the same level as the first marshal. Why would such figures listen to the army's arrangements? Just as the first marshal said, it was already good that they were willing to help. This insect plague was serious, and no one could escape unscathed. Even if these universe dominators were strong enough to protect themselves and even leave the Taichu Sea for other origin chaos universes, the entire Taichu Sea would be destroyed. Their home and foundation would be gone. That's right. Kalar Hongmeng sighed. As the main liaison of the army, Hongmeng, he was the one who felt it the most. Some universe dominators, who were usually on good terms with the army, tried their best to avoid getting involved. On the other hand, some universe dominators, who usually didn't get along well with the army, came to help without hesitation. It might be a good thing that they're fighting for themselves, said the first marshal. During the battle at Thousand Perception Mountain in Hongmeng, we had to go through a lot of trouble to find the initial super blackboard. This time, it's 1,000,000 times harder than the battle at Thousand Perception Mountain in Hongmeng. We have no clue where to find the bug leader. The bug race had a distinct characteristic, and that was that they definitely had a head. Universe-devouring Queen Bug, Universe-devouring Bug Emperor, as long as it was a bug race, they would have a head. It was like the brain of a cultivator commanding the entire body. As long as the head of the bug race was destroyed, the bug race, which had lost its complete system, would fall like dominoes. However, the bug race wasn't stupid. Their head was very good at hiding itself, and its strength would definitely be the strongest of the bug race. The bug disaster in Mi Luo Tua territory was terrifying. It couldn't be like Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain. Relying on the resources and energy of Mi Luo Tua territory, not just the Taichu, even if all the great beings of the Hongmeng Ocean gathered, they might not be able to outlast the bug race. The only way was to find the Zerg's head and kill it. That way the bug race would collapse. It was very difficult. On one hand, Mi Luo Tua territory was huge, and the bug race's leader would definitely be well hidden. On the other hand, the bug race occupied Mi Luo Tua territory, relying on their huge energy and geographical advantage. They kept attacking. The army had to expend a huge amount of energy to defend against the attacks of the bug race. The battle at Hongmeng's 1000 Perception Mountain, it's all thanks to Lin Feng. Marshal Kaller nodded in Hongmeng. The first marshal also remembered. His eyes filled with killing intent calmed down a little. He looked at Kaller Hongmeng. How's the little punk now? Chapter 3006. You Ancestor, the Guardian of the Investiture of the Gods. He was also a top-tier universe master, but he was stronger than Dong High Divine Monk and Prince Yao. He cultivated the path of Hongmeng, a level 6 Hongmeng law known as flowing light, which was based on the laws of light, time, and water. Combined with You Ancestor's special body, he was invincible. Based on the power Lin Feng displayed when he defeated Dong High Divine Monk and Prince Yao Hua, he has a 60% chance of defeating You Ancestor. More than 80%. Even if he can't defeat You Ancestor the first time, it will be much easier the second time. Lin Feng isn't weaker than You Ancestor. The main thing is Lin Feng's investiture of the gods ranking. I don't think third place is a problem. The key is his battle with Qian Choshue. How can Lin Feng defeat Lord Qian Shui? His battle with Prince Yao Hua will be enough to see who is stronger. Lin Feng can't surpass Lord Qian Shui even with the Hongmeng origin item that can suppress Prince Yao Hua. It's even more impossible for him to defeat You Ancestor. Thousand Blood Empress is a world master after all. She's invincible among the godly venerables. Lin Feng can't surpass her. Thousand Blood Empress, as one of the 5 world masters, had a very high reputation in the Hongmeng Ocean. She was also the only woman among the 5 world masters, so she attracted even more attention. She also had powerful abilities and left a valiant record on the investiture of the god. Huang Zun, Godly Venerables, Yuan Venerables, and Qian Choshua's names could be seen everywhere on the investiture of the gods. She just couldn't surpass the legendary Gu Huang. It's done. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He had adjusted his state to its peak. The battle with Prince Yao Hua had consumed a lot of energy, and one of his world incarnations had used up all its energy. However, Lin Feng wasn't seriously injured. After a short rest, he returned to normal. Battle You Ancestor. Whoosh. Lin Feng showed up in You Ancestor's God-sealing space. This was a strange world. Endless light streams flowed in this world like flowing water. Some of them were moving fast, while some were moving slowly, just like a beautiful painting. Harmonize with the body. Lin Feng's sensations were amazingly great. Immediately, he sensed You Ancestor's power. The entire area was filled with You Ancestor's power, changing like flowing water. This was his territory. Just like the battle at the core of the mountain would merge with any world incarnation and launch an attack. Ancestor Gu was the same. Surrounded by these light streams, You Ancestor had completely merged with them. With any light stream, he could launch thunderous attacks. It was very difficult to decipher it. In the outside world, one only needed to leave the area enveloped by the flowing light. But in the God-sealing space, leaving was equivalent to failure. A major world incarnation. This was the first time Lin Feng had used his major world incarnation in battle. Unlike his small world incarnation, the major world incarnation was not only larger, its energy was more vigorous, and it was covered in the level 7 Hongmeng law of mass destruction. Although Lin Feng had yet to comprehend great shattering to perfection, at this moment, using his great world incarnation was the best choice. Firstly, the major world incarnation's defense was stronger, and secondly, the law of mass destruction was most suitable for fighting You Ancestor. However, there was only one major world incarnation, and its energy consumption was irreversible. Every time it consumed energy, it would take a long time to recover. Let's finish this quickly. Lin Feng didn't use his small world incarnation because this was Yu Ancestor's space. He could use the flowing light streams to exhaust the energy of his small world incarnation before attacking. Although Lin Feng hadn't fought Yu Ancestor before, he could feel that this mysterious opponent was powerful and cunning. He was different from Prince Yaohua. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. Lin Feng's great world avatar had an internal universe that was stronger than his small world avatar. It was also more suited for defense. However, he had yet to cultivate it to perfection. He was unable to perfectly control his great world avatar to attack. But Lin Feng didn't rely on Hongmeng law of mass destruction to attack now. His blade art had reached perfection. Great shattering. Facing such a cunning opponent, Lin Feng didn't wait for death. He didn't focus on defense like the other cultivators and wait for Yu Ancestor to attack. Lin Feng took the initiative to attack. Golden spell symbols sparkled, connecting with each other. Countless spell symbols released an uncontrollable power. If the power couldn't be gathered, it couldn't be controlled, and the power couldn't be released. Explode. Along with Lin Feng's growl, the golden spell symbols dazzled and spread out immediately, covering the entire God ceiling space. All the flowing light streams were enveloped in the God ceiling space. Explosions could be heard from the center, and the entire space was quaked. Is this guy crazy? Hiding in the flowing light streams, Yu Ancestor's expression changed drastically. He knew that the Great Shattering was a destructive move. No ordinary cultivator would choose to use it. Although the Great Shattering was powerful, it was an explosive attack, killing 10,000 enemies, losing 8,000 of his own. But at the moment, he didn't have time to care if Lin Feng was crazy or not, because Lin Feng had already launched the attack. Violent explosions covered all the flowing light streams. Although these flowing light streams only contained a tiny bit of Yu Ancestor's will, they were still enormous. Bit by bit, these streams of will gathered together, containing 30% of Yu Ancestor's power. But at this moment they were all gone. Rumble. The flowing light streams dissipated, and the energy was disordered. Yu Ancestor had already consumed a lot of energy before the fight started, and his trump card was destroyed directly. If he didn't gather his physical body and leave the flowing light streams, he would be consumed even more. Swoosh. A blade light flashed in front of Yu Ancestor's eyes. Yu Ancestor's face darkened as his perfect plan was ruined. He was completely led by the nose by Lin Feng. Close. Endless flowing light streams gathered from all directions. Yu Ancestor hurriedly stepped back, dodging the blade light. But before he could gather the light streams again, another series of explosions could be heard. The rumbling explosion didn't give any chance for the flowing light streams to gather. Lin Feng pointed his blade at Yu Ancestor. Extremely sharp. The blade was as sharp as a dagger, piercing straight into Yu Ancestor's heart. Yu Ancestor's body flashed across the air like a ghost, swiftly stepping back. But suddenly, an explosion happened in his great world, striking Yu Ancestor right in the face. Yu Ancestor was stunned for a moment. Not good. Yu Ancestor knew that this explosion was completely out of luck, and he was just unlucky. He was right in front of the explosion, and his vision was blurred. He wasn't badly injured, but his defense was broken. Lin Feng wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. The golden engravings were shining brightly, and the blade was moving like an emperor. Absolutely explosive. Another explosion occurred. The terrifying explosive power combined with the 6th-level Hongmeng law of destruction. Although Yu Ancestor couldn't use the power of his small world to reach the peak of the Khanate level, it was still terrifying when combined with the blade art. Boom! Yu Ancestor, who couldn't dodge, was severely injured. It's over. Lin Feng certainly wouldn't give Yu Ancestor any more chances. His great world completely suppressed Yu Ancestor, and the golden light shone brightly. Soon, Yu Ancestor was killed, completing the challenge of the investiture of the gods. Ding! A pleasant sound came from the investiture of the gods. Chapter 3007. 5 treasures of different colors appeared in front of Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng shone brightly as Hongmeng energy swirled around him. He was the 4th person in the history of the Hongmeng Sea to defeat the Supreme God investiture list. He was the 1st person in the Taichu Origin Chaotic Universe. The hidden reward is indeed a Hongmeng source item. Lin Feng was not surprised. The reward for defeating Huang Zun's investiture list was a Hongmeng source item. He had chosen 1 out of 7. Previously, he had chosen the domain type Hongmeng source item. However, after obtaining the world incarnation, this domain type Hongmeng source item seemed a little useless, but it did not matter as he could exchange it for another. However, with Lin Feng's current ability and the maturity of his internal universe, he still could not unleash the power of the Hongmeng source item. Otherwise, with the Hongmeng source item, the 100 million wheels 8 front formation, Lin Feng's strength would be much more terrifying than it was now. The most important thing about treasures was their applicability. The Mountain Core's small world incarnation was only comparable to a Hongmeng source item, but Lin Feng could perfectly fuse with it and unleash 100% of its power. It was even more practical than the major world incarnation. The Mountain Core's world incarnation was also comparable to a Hongmeng source item, but it could be separated. A single major world incarnation was comparable to a Hongmeng source item. A single small world incarnation was comparable to a Hongmeng source item. A perfect combination of the major world incarnation and the 1888 small world incarnations was the true Mountain Core's world incarnation, comparable to a Hongmeng source item. Lin Feng was still far from fully mastering the Mountain Core's world incarnation. He could not fully master the 1888 small world incarnations, let alone the major world incarnation and fusing them all into one. To perfectly master a Hongmeng source item required a lot of time and energy. Even the universe rulers were the same. Lin Feng's fusion with the Mountain Core's world incarnation was 10,000 times easier. 1 out of 5. Lin Feng did not need to choose. All his eyes and attention were focused on a snow-white saber surrounded by Hongmeng airflow. It was like the purest existence on a snowy mountain, like the most dazzling star in the sky. In Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, a saber had also appeared. It was a pitch-black saber, a brutal saber. The saber soul was extremely powerful. Back then, Lin Feng hadn't chosen it. Instead, he had chosen Hongmeng's origin item because he wasn't confident that he could control that ferocious saber. However, this snow-white saber was different. It also had a saber soul. A saber of this level could naturally nurture a saber soul. Just like cultivators, the saber soul did not have any intelligence or willpower, but it had a personality. There was no good or bad personality, only the suitability. The ferocious and brutal saber soul was like a fish in water to cultivators with such personalities. It could unleash an extremely powerful explosive attack. This snow-white saber's saber soul was as gentle as jade, pure and elegant. However, it did not mean that its attack power was weak. On the contrary, it was most suitable for the current him. Such a saber soul would definitely not steal the limelight. It would only try its best to adapt to its new master. Pa! Lin Feng directly grasped the saber. Instantly, a powerful force surged. A clear current flowed through his body. Lin Feng could feel the kindness and gentleness of the saber, as well as the anticipation and joy of the saber soul. Saber, Snow Jade. While Lin Feng was still choosing the rewards from the Divine General Challenge, the Hongmeng Sea was already in an uproar. At this moment, the investiture of the gods' rankings had been updated. Lin Feng had used his absolute strength to open an era that belonged to him. 1. Taisher Gu Huang. 2. Taichu Lin Feng. 3. Tai Yi Qian Chou Shui. None of the cultivators thought highly of it. In the end, their jaws dropped to the ground. Lin Feng had pushed Qian Cho Shui down the list for the second time. This time, it wasn't because Qian Cho Shui wasn't good at dealing with illusions. This time, Lin Feng had truly surpassed Qian Cho Shui. She was one of the 5 great realms masters and a supreme powerhouse who had once ruled an era when she was a supreme god. Being ranked second was also the best result Lin Feng had ever achieved. The Thousand Blood Empress actually lost. Unbelievable! Lin Feng actually surpassed Lord Thousand Blood. Second, he's ranked second. Oh my god, this is so scary. Such a supreme genius is actually from the Taichu. I can die without regrets after witnessing this battle with my own eyes. Lin Feng won this battle cleanly. He absolutely relied on his true strength. Even someone as strong as the Yu ancestor couldn't resist. There's only one word to describe him: handsome. The 4th powerhouse to sweep through the Supreme God investiture list is really lucky to be born in the same era as him. I really envy the Taichu for producing such a powerhouse. I wonder if he can break the record of the Hongmengxi's investiture list when he's a Yuan Venerate? Lin Feng had become a legend in the Hongmengxi after consecutively sweeping through Huang Zun's investiture list and the Supreme God investiture list. This was because he had surpassed the Thousand Blood Empress, a world master, which was extremely shocking. Taisher Gu Huang was like a high and mighty monarch. No one could shake his position. Although Qian Cho Shui was known as the Eternal Second on the investiture list, her strength was obvious to all. For countless eras, there were very few cultivators who could surpass Qian Cho Shui. However, today, a human from the Taichu had done it. The entire Taichu was in an uproar. Although they were in the middle of a plague of pests, this kind of big news was undoubtedly exciting. Lin Feng represented the Taichu's hope and the Taichu's future. Although many cultivators had been invincible during Huang Zun's time and disappeared after breaking through to the Supreme God Venerate, Lin Feng was different. He had consecutively swept through the Huang Zun's investiture list and the Supreme God investiture list. This was enough proof. Now, the entire Hongmengxi was looking forward to Lin Feng breaking through to the Yuan Venerate and sweeping through the Yuan Venerate's investiture list. He was going to create a magnificent feat that no cultivator in the Hongmengxi had ever achieved before. Sweeping through the Yuan Venerate's investiture list. Only Yuan Venerates could challenge the 21 divine generals. The strongest among them, the Myriad Bone Emperor, wasn't on the investiture list because no cultivator had ever defeated him. However, this was still very far away for Lin Feng. At the moment, he was choosing the rewards for defeating the divine generals. Although these rewards weren't worth mentioning compared to the hidden rewards for sweeping through the Supreme God investiture list, a mosquito was still meat. Furthermore, there were often surprises in the rewards for defeating the divine generals. For example, the triple moss absolute that he had chosen earlier. Lin Feng chose the 3rd type of reward, which was the cultivation reward. Regardless of whether it was suitable or not, the cultivation reward was definitely better for Lin Feng than the other 2 rewards. After all, he didn't lack resources, Hongmeng energy, or Hongmeng source materials. It's SOSO. It's not very useful. It's alright. It can be used. After choosing the divine general rewards, Lin Feng soon arrived at Prince Yaohua's choice. The East Sea Divine Monk's reward had been a little disappointing and not to his liking. Prince Yaohua's divine general reward was the one that Lin Feng had the most hope for. After all, he cultivated the path of confusion, so the cultivation reward should be suitable. Let's see how my luck goes. Lin Feng chose right away. Chapter 3008. As soon as he got home, he started typing. Resuming normal updates at Blade Shattering Stars is back. It's in your hands right now. Please wait for a moment. Once the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 3009. Lin Feng was currently at the primary golden body. In the history of the Hongmeng Sea, Lin Feng was the second person to achieve the primary golden body at the ultimate venerate level. However, this wasn't the limit. The Yuan body was. The primary golden body, and primary Yuan body were a bright path for primary Tao heart cultivators. However, it was extremely rare for almighties to possess the primary golden body, let alone the primary golden body. After a cultivator broke through to become an almighty, their internal universe would be completely mature, and it would be even more difficult to change it. An ordinary primary golden body would only become a Hongmeng body after breaking through to become a universe ruler. The rare primary golden body would become a Hongmeng golden body after breaking through to become a universe ruler. In order to attain the ultimate Hongmeng Yuan body, one had to first attain the primary golden body when breaking through to become an almighty. However, attaining the Yuan body was too difficult. There were only 2 Yuan bodies in the entire Hongmeng Sea. Therefore, the core of the mountain had tried to seize Lin Feng's body at all costs. If Fan Zhu hadn't forcefully stopped it, a 3rd Yuan body would have appeared in the Hongmeng Sea. The core of the mountain possessed enough Hongmeng energy to transform Lin Feng's body into a Yuan body. However, the price of doing so was the annihilation of Lin Feng's soul. The Yuan body was like a set of armor with extreme defensive capabilities. It would be great if one could wear it, but if one wasn't strong enough, the weight of the armor would crush them completely. Lin Feng knew very well that even if his strength improved greatly, it was impossible for him to attain the Yuan body when breaking through to become a Yuan venerate. There was no need for that either. The ultimate venerate and the Yuan venerate were ultimately 2 different levels. After becoming a Yuan venerate, all aspects of his abilities would be sublimated, especially the strengthening of his internal universe. When the time came, he would be able to fully control the realm embodiment and possess an inexhaustible amount of Hongmeng energy. Once everything was ready, he would be able to break through to become an almighty and attain the Yuan body. In order to achieve this optimal plan, he had to cultivate the primary golden body to the extreme when he was a Yuan venerate. His physical body was close to a super-universe body. His soul was close to a super-universe soul. His mind was close to a super-universe heart. Any one of the 3 was practically the pinnacle of the path of Meng. Even universe masters who cultivated only one path would find it difficult to reach this level. For example, Azura Wang Yan was fighting Lin Feng. Although he was a universe leader, he had a big universe body. He did not have a super-universe body. It was very difficult for a mind cultivator to achieve all 3 Tao of Meng at the same time when he was a universe master, let alone a great being. In order to form the elemental body, one had to break through to become an almighty at the latest. Otherwise, when the universe in one's body was fully mature and the structure was fixed, one would not be able to break through the original shackles. Casting the body of the universe, the soul of the universe, and the heart of the universe was the primal chaos body. The golden body of the universe, the golden soul of the universe, and the golden heart of the universe were formed. Forming the universe origin body, universe origin soul, and universe origin heart. Lin Feng's initial golden body had been strengthened by a level after advancing from the godly venerate to the Yuan venerate. However, the requirements for forging a primary Yuan body weren't ordinary. There was still a long way to go in all aspects, but at least now he knew where to go. This reward is very suitable for me. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction when he received Prince Yao Hua's cultivation reward. This was the best reward he had received so far, so it didn't disappoint him. Prince Yao Hua was a flame born in the Hongmeng Sea. His innate physical body was tempered by Yao Hua, which was a super-universe body. The cultivation reward he had brought was Yao Hua's tempering. Yao Hua could undergo Yao Hua's tempering at any time. Although there was only one chance, Lin Feng could predict how effective Yao Hua's tempering would be. Although his golden body couldn't be tempered to the primal chaos body, it would definitely be improved by a huge level. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by. There was only one Yao Hua in the entire Hongmeng Sea. It was born in the Hongmeng Sea and only Prince Yao Hua possessed it. It wasn't suitable to temper it now, as the golden body of the universe wasn't strong enough. When a godly venerate broke through to the Yuan venerate and his internal universe advanced, the golden body of the universe could be further enhanced. At that time, Yao Hua's tempering would be twice the result with half the effort and reach the peak of the basic improvement. There's one more. Lin Feng entered the Yu Ancestor's God Seal space and chose his reward. Although Yu Ancestor was stronger than Prince Yao Hua and was the strongest godly venerate on the investiture of the gods, Lin Feng didn't think that his cultivation reward would be better than Prince Yao Hua's. After all, the cultivation reward was related to the Divine General. Yu Ancestor cultivated the path of Hongmeng. If you're lucky, there's a high chance that you'll comprehend a level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, Lightstream. If you're unlucky, there's a small chance that you'll comprehend a level 5 Hongmeng nomological law that Yu Ancestor is proficient in. The previous Divine Generals were also proficient in the path of Hongmeng, so Lin Feng was very clear about the cultivation reward. Even so, Lin Feng didn't mind. After all, he could only choose one reward out of 3. The other 2 were of little value and he didn't need them at all. Quality was more important than quantity in treasures. Including Snow Jewel, Lin Feng already had 3 Hongmeng Dominator Source items. Even the Hongmeng Dominator Source items weren't enough for Lin Feng, let alone the World Hongmeng Dominator Source items and the Universe Hongmeng Dominator Source items. Only the 3rd cultivation reward was something he was looking forward to. Even if it was just the Hongmeng nomological law, it would be good enough. Lin Feng's attainments in the path of Hongmeng were relatively shallow. If he wanted to become a powerful being, he only needed to cultivate the path of Hongmeng to the extreme. However, if he wanted to become the dominator of the universe, he couldn't neglect the path of Hongmeng. Lightstream? Lin Feng chose his reward. Suddenly, a virtual light appeared in front of his eyes. The Hongmeng airflow coiled around him, and a powerful energy flowed into his body. Instantly, his mind was filled with information about the path of Hongmeng. My luck is really bad. Lin Feng smiled faintly. When the information flowed in, he knew that it wasn't the level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, Lightstream, but the level 5 Hongmeng nomological law. There was a huge difference between level 5 Hongmeng nomological law and level 6 Hongmeng nomological law. For a dominator of the universe, a level 5 Hongmeng nomological law reached perfection and was an ordinary dominator of the universe. A level 6 Hongmeng nomological law reached perfection and was a top-tier dominator of the universe. The difference was huge. Lin Feng's combat power was comparable to that of a top-tier dominator of the universe. He also had the level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, destruction, which he could comprehend at any time. Together with his small world avatar, he could unleash innate power comparable to level 7 Hongmeng nomological law. Comprehending level 5 Hongmeng nomological law was useless. However, Lin Feng wasn't too disappointed. He just wasn't surprised. Even if Yu Ancestor's reward was the comprehension of level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, Lightstream, so what? He couldn't waste time comprehending it. As he received more and more information, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, revealing a hint of joy. Even though this wasn't level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, Lightstream, it was much more useful to him. Not bad. This is exactly what I need. After receiving all the information, Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and nodded with satisfaction. This reward was also something he urgently needed. Mobile version update website Chapter 3010. Although the previous rewards weren't satisfactory, the last 2 rewards are worth the price. Lin Feng was quite satisfied with the rewards of the 14 Divine Generals. Compared to Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, the rewards of the investiture of the gods were all cultivation rewards apart from the snow jade warblade. Some were suitable, some were barely suitable, and some were very suitable. Lin Feng did not intend to use these cultivation rewards for the time being, regardless of their effects. He would only use them after he broke through to the Yuan Venerate. Breaking through to the Yuan Venerate would elevate all aspects, including his internal universe, his comprehension of the sky laws, and his own foundation. When the time came, the effects of using the rewards would be multiplied several times. Look, it's Lin Feng. I've finally seen him in person. He's Lin Feng, the one who swept through the investiture of the gods. You really can't judge a book by its cover. My idol is amazing. He's really only a divine venerate. How did he defeat so many universe rulers? Lin Feng, you are the hero of the Taichu. In the investiture god space, many cultivators were looking forward to it. Even though the investiture of the gods had ended, they felt extremely comfortable to finally see their idol after waiting for a long time. Presently, not only was Lin Feng's name renowned throughout the absolute beginning continent, there was no one in the entire primordial sea who didn't know of him. He had swept through the investiture of the gods. This was a completely different concept from sweeping through Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. Huang Zun's investiture of the gods wasn't a universe ruler, but a divine venerate's investiture of the gods was a top-notch universe ruler. Any top-notch universe ruler in the Hongmeng Ocean was a big shot who could cause an earthquake with a stomp of their feet. Unfortunately, Lin Feng was completely indifferent to becoming famous. Lin Feng didn't pay any attention to the gazes of admiration in the surroundings. After he received the rewards of the God rank list, Lin Feng directly left. Even though he could still explore the primordial dual polarity pagoda, Lin Feng only wanted to do one thing right now: break through to the Yuan Venerate. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. It was very difficult for most ultimate venerates to break through to the Yuan Venerate. It wasn't easy to meet all the requirements. However, Lin Feng had already prepared everything and didn't lack anything. It was just that he had to challenge the ultimate venerate's investiture of the gods. Now that his wish had been fulfilled, there were no more obstacles. After returning to the Lin mansion, Lin Feng instructed his third brother Yi Yuan and his teacher, Venerable Wan Yuan, to go into seclusion. Foundation? Lin Feng had the primal golden body, which was comparable to the universe rulers. Energy? Lin Feng had an inexhaustible supply of Hongmeng's energy. Inner universe? Lin Feng's internal universe was currently the most perfect ultimate venerate in the Hongmeng Sea. In fact, no one in the entire Hongmeng Sea was more perfect than his. Even though Lin Feng was now walking the most demanding path of the primal chaos venerate, he had almost reached the most perfect state in all aspects, including the control of his physical body and spirit. With the support of the primal golden body and the mind cultivation mystic technique, it was quite impressive. The only thing that was slightly lacking was the comprehension of the universe's nomological laws. Lin Feng's light and darkness great path had also reached the 8th level, so it was completely sufficient. When the conditions were right, success would follow naturally. On the path of venerable primal chaos, which was the most difficult path to cultivate, Lin Feng had completed it with absolute superiority in all aspects. There were no obstructions, and it was flawless. Everything was within his expectations. His internal universe was becoming more mature and stronger. It was like a golden sphere that was constantly expanding and overflowing with Hongmeng energy. Celestial bodies were flourishing and developing vigorously. The Milky Way in his internal universe had more abundant energy and stronger powerhouses. In time, when Lin Feng became an almighty, the strength of his internal universe would be comparable to that of a universe ruler. As long as the cultivators in his internal universe had enough potential, they would be able to become almighties. Although Lin Feng's internal universe was currently inferior to Universe 7, it was only a matter of time before it surpassed Universe 7. One last step. Lin Feng felt the transformation of his internal universe, which was approaching the limit of perfection. With one more step, his internal universe would reach the limit and trigger the resonance of the Hongmeng Sea. That would be unimaginably powerful, the ultimate form of the primal chaos venerate. Possession of Universe 7. Now, Universe 7's will of heaven had completely lost the ability to resist. What a joke! Lin Feng alone was enough to sweep Universe 7. How could the will of heaven resist? Universe 7's godly inquisition existed in name only. It had long been owned by the 7th Mercenary Alliance. It was not disbanded because Universe 7's godly inquisition still had its meaning. Universe 7 was so big that there were all kinds of trivial matters to deal with. It was impossible for the 7th Mercenary Alliance to spy on every corner of Universe 7 and maintain the order of the universe. Only Universe 7's godly inquisition could do this. When the will of heaven was possessed, Lin Feng's own will would merge with Universe 7 and even integrate Universe 7 into his internal universe. At that time, Universe 7's godly inquisition would no longer have any meaning. Now, the path of the primal chaos venerate was no longer difficult for Lin Feng. The obstacles that Senior Yellow Spring had faced in the past had all been broken. However, this was not his real pursuit. Haha, it seems that he felt it. Lin Feng smiled as the surrounding world shook gently. It was the stirring of the Hongmeng Sea, as if it was also happy that he had broken through to the Yuan Venerate. However, Lin Feng knew that it was definitely not happiness. So what if he felt it? What can he do? When he was a godly Venerate, his combat strength was already comparable to a top-notch universe master. Although Lin Feng had just broken through to the Yuan Venerate, his combat strength was no less than the 8 Hongmeng marshals. He had the capital to stand proudly in the Hongmeng Sea. Back then, when he was weak, he was not afraid of Universe 7's godly inquisition. Today, he was even less afraid. What's the point of a smooth cultivation path? Challenges are the true path of a powerhouse. If you dare to come, I dare to fight. I, Lin Feng, have always been fearless. Fighting with others was endlessly fun. Fighting with the heavens was the ultimate pleasure and challenge. However, he should be too busy right now. Lin Feng knew very well how angry the will of the heavenly great path had been when he had walked the path of the primordial chaos venerate. However, the feeling today was completely different. Lin Feng had experienced it before, so he understood. Because there was a greater threat now, and he had more urgent needs. He simply could not care about himself. It was like fighting a war. One was an invasion of foreign enemies, while the other was internal strife. The power of foreign enemies was thousands of times stronger than internal strife. Once it could not be quelled, the foreign enemies would trample the empire and destroy everything. As for internal strife, it could not reach that level of destructive power. The right choice. Lin Feng had expected this. He absorbed the Hongmeng energy of the world incarnation and strengthened his body, which urgently needed to absorb the Hongmeng energy after the transformation. Golden energy circled around him. I will not stand by and do nothing about your matters. I will do my best. Not to help you, but to help myself. Mobile version website Chapter 3011. Lin Feng returned to the apotheosis space. The training rewards for the 14 godly generals were not much, but they were not little either. Most of these training rewards were difficult to find in the Hongmeng Sea. For example, the comprehension of the rank 5 Hongmeng nomological laws was directly instilled in the mind. In terms of upper limit, it was not as good as comprehending the Hongmeng nomological laws. But in terms of lower limit, it was higher than comprehending the Hongmeng nomological laws. This was because completing the comprehension would basically allow one to reach the great accomplishment. As long as one's aptitude was not too bad, one could master the mysteries of the Hongmeng nomological laws and reach the great accomplishment level in time. The Apotheosis Challenge was not only a place for the Hongmeng Sea cultivators to test their strength. Its rewards were even more extraordinary. However, Lin Feng's current standards were a bit high. My internal universe has yet to reach the ultimate perfection. If Lin Feng's goal was to seize the seventh universe's will of the heavenly axiom and walk the path of the primal chaos venerable, then the great accomplishment of the Tao of Meng was basically set in stone. The seventh universe's will of the heavenly axiom could not resist. However, this was not Lin Feng's real goal. After leaving the seventh universe and entering the Taichu, Lin Feng's goal had changed greatly. Especially after his contact with Fan Zhu and his experience of being possessed by the mountain core, Lin Feng's heart was as firm as a rock. He wanted to become the strongest person in the Hongmeng Sea. He wanted to surpass even the 5 great world masters. To walk this path, Lin Feng was very clear about what he lacked. Lin Feng remembered his contact with Fan Zhu and his pointers and teachings. Although it was just a few words, Lin Feng enjoyed it endlessly. This was because Fan Zhu had almost touched the peak of the Hongmeng Sea. Standing at Fan Zhu's height, what he saw was very different from what Lin Feng saw. It was further, more direct and purer. The strength of the internal universe determines a cultivator's combat power. The perfection level of one's internal universe determines the upper limit of a cultivator. This was what Fan Zhu had told Lin Feng. The inner universe was the most essential and important core of a cultivator. When the inner universe was destroyed, the cultivator would die. When one's internal universe was suppressed, it would be hard for a cultivator to unleash their combat power. Lin Feng was very clear about the perfection of his internal universe. The reason why a black hole was that its internal universe was in a budding state and was unable to transform. The reason why some of the sub-universes were stronger and some were weaker was because they had different degrees of perfection. Some lacked the soul heavenly Tao and some lacked the laws heavenly Tao. However, even the first sub-universe that was close to perfection had a huge gap between it and the origin chaos universe, because the origin was different. The origin of the first sub-universe was the chaotic universe of the Taichu origin. The Hongmeng Sea was the origin of the Taichu primal chaos universe. Source was also a type of perfection, and it was the most crucial type. This was why Lin Feng didn't want to take over the seventh original universe. Indeed, taking over the seventh original universe and repairing one's internal universe to perfection was a very powerful path for an origin chaos supremacy. At the very least, one could reach the pinnacle of a universe or even the limit of a universe. Among the 5 great world masters, there was an origin chaos supremacy. The Qin Emperor origin heart set that Elder Yellow Spring had obtained contained the complete inheritance of an origin chaos supremacy. Yellow Spring was the only one who had taken this path in the 7th original universe. However, many cultivators had taken this path in the Taichu Sea and even more in the Hongmeng Sea. Furthermore, many of them had succeeded. The more perfect the sub-universe was, the higher the upper limit. However, no matter how high the upper limit was, the source would still be separated by an origin chaos universe. Tai Yi Primal Chaos Tao Lord, one of the 5 great world masters, taking over the Tai Yi first universe and achieving perfection in all aspects. This was a legend who had almost swept through the Yuan venerate investiture of the gods. His reputation wasn't inferior to that of Qian Chou Shui, who was also a great world master. He had taken the path of an origin chaos supremacy. Although his path was a little slow, it was as steady as a mountain forest. When he became a Yuan venerate, he immediately erupted. Could the Taichu's 7th original universe compare to the Tai Yi first universe? The answer was obvious. Lin Feng knew very well that the Taichu's 7th original universe had a lot of flaws. The various heavenly laws weren't perfect. Even if they were mended, there would still be some differences between the Hotion perfected heavens and the Sciention perfected heavens. Perhaps these differences weren't big, but when one's cultivation reached the peak, these differences would become huge motes. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the strongest one. I want to take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe. Previously, Lin Feng hadn't been sure if he could take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe. However, when the ultimate venerate broke through to the Yuan venerate level, he was certain. This was because he felt the fluctuations of the Taichu's heavenly path will, which were very similar to the fury of the heavenly path of the seventh original universe. However, the Taichu's heavenly path will was now facing an unprecedented calamity, a plague of insects. Therefore, it had no time to deal with Luo Yunyang. Or rather, it didn't care about Luo Yunyang at all. The Taichu's origin chaos universe was huge and contained terrifying energy. It was undoubtedly a fool's dream to take over the 5 great origin chaos universe that had existed since the birth of the Hongmeng Sea. However, Lin Feng knew that there was a possibility, even if it was only 1 in 100 million. He was born on Earth in the Milky Way. His bloodline originated from the 7th subsidiary universe. The 7th subsidiary universe was born in the Taichu's origin chaos universe. Therefore, the bloodline in his body also originated from the Taichu's origin chaos universe. He met the most important requirement of a bloodline for a possession. It was impossible to take over the Tai-E, or other origin chaos universes. The most important thing about an origin chaos venerate was the bloodline. When the bloodline met the requirements, all that was left was to meet the requirements in all aspects. Taking over the 7th subsidiary universe and taking over the Taichu's origin chaos universe were 2 completely different levels of difficulty. Lin Feng was not even 1% sure that he could take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe, but that was why it was challenging and fun. He had to do his best. The path of confusion and the path of chaos are indispensable. If I want to take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe, I must cultivate these 2 paths to the extreme. Because the Taichu's origin chaos universe was the extreme, there was only one chance to take over a body, and that was when he became a grand figure. Once he became a grand figure, the universe in his body would be fixed, and there would be no possibility of taking over a body. Lin Feng had a certain amount of confidence in the path of Meng. He was already at the initial golden body and was not far from the initial golden body. However, his cultivation in the path of Hongji was still shallow. He had not even reached the great perfection in the basic precept. He was still far from it. The shortest plank. To become the master of the universe, he had to make up for the shortest plank, let alone become the lord of a world. Lin Feng's goal was even higher than becoming the lord of a world. The cultivation reward of the 14th Immortal General is just enough to make up for my shortest plank. Especially the Ancestor's reward. Chapter 30:12. The Yu Ancestor's reward was all the branches of the light stream. The level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream, had light, time, and water nomological laws as its main body. The Great Obliteration had 1,888 destruction branches, and the light stream also had branches. However, these weren't level 5 Hongmeng nomological laws, but various fused nomological laws from level 1 to level 5. Light and time and space, time and water, light and yin and yang, and so on. Any Hongmeng nomological law was a combination of various foundation nomological laws. The combination of the foundation nomological laws could even fuse with the uniqueness of the Hongmeng Sea to give birth to stronger Hongmeng nomological laws. Allowing Lin Feng to master the level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream, wasn't of much use. Thoroughly comprehending the foundation nomological laws had many benefits. Although thoroughly comprehending these fused nomological laws didn't mean that he could fully comprehend the foundation nomological laws, it would undoubtedly yield twice the result with half the effort. Coupled with the higher level of his internal universe, it would be much easier to fully comprehend the various foundation nomological laws. Heavenly nomological laws, time, space. Upper nomological laws, light, dark, thunder, wind, earth. Intermediate nomological laws, yin, yang. Lower nomological laws, metal, wood, water, fire, earth. These were all the foundation nomological laws. The 14 divine generals' rewards covered a lot. After that, there were still 21 divine generals that Yuan venerates could challenge. When the time came, they could cover almost all the foundation nomological laws and raise the primordial Tao to the extreme. Fully comprehending the Yu ancestors' rewards will definitely allow me to fully comprehend the time, light, and water nomological laws. Lin Feng's attainments in the time and light nomological laws weren't bad. Although he wasn't very good at the water nomological laws, it would be much easier to fully comprehend the lower nomological laws. Lin Feng cultivated wholeheartedly in the God Seal space. These rewards for fully comprehending the primordial Tao laws wouldn't take too much time in the God Seal space. More time would be spent on comprehending the primordial Tao laws in his internal universe. After becoming a Yuan Venerate, Lin Feng's internal universe's foundation nomological laws had basically reached the extreme. The 100,000 source points were extremely clear, and all the nomological laws were perfect. The 7th subuniverse nomological laws were flawless. Heavenly nomological laws, upper nomological laws, and intermediate nomological laws were all very complete. It was only lacking in the soul and heart force aspect of Mengji Dao. Even so, Lin Feng still spent a total of 15 eras to cultivate the 3 laws of time, light, and water to the great perfection. In other words, he had surpassed the 13th level of attainments and comprehended all 100,000 source energy. Among them, time and water took the longest. Time was a heavenly law, and it was the most difficult to comprehend. Because Lin Feng was not proficient in the law of water, it took him more time to comprehend. As for the law of light, it was the easiest for Lin Feng. Ancestors' 9 heavens of light and darkness is not the limit. After comprehending the law of light, Lin Feng finally understood. Be it the law of light or the law of darkness, both were worth 100,000 origin points. The ancestors' 9 heavens of light and darkness only fused 99,999 points of light and darkness. Although he was only one source away, the difference in difficulty and level was like the difference between heaven and earth. One required a complete law of light and law of darkness, while the other required a fused law. The complete law of light and darkness must be Hongmeng's law. If you can comprehend it, you will become a powerful existence. Lin Feng now completely understood. Back then, his ancestor had wandered the universe freely, transcended the limits of the heavenly Tao, and reached the limit of the heavenly Tao. However, he had only proven his Tao and had not broken through. Thus, he had never been able to become an almighty. It was because the path he had chosen was too difficult. The power of the 9 heavens of light and darkness was no less than that of an ordinary level 2 Hongmeng law. The fusion of light and darkness was at least level 3 Hongmeng law. It was estimated that it was equivalent to level 4 Hongmeng law for a peak almighty. How could a Yuan Venerate directly comprehend level 4 Hongmeng law and be comparable to a peak almighty? How could it not be difficult? I won't make do. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Now, not only did he know why his ancestor had not been able to become an almighty, but he also felt the same way. If he were in his position, he would not make do either. He would either become the best version of himself or not break through. Just like how he no longer wanted to seize the heavenly Tao's will of Universe 7. The heavenly Tao's will of the Taichu origin chaotic universe was his only goal. No matter how difficult it was, he would not make do. It's a pity that the 14 divine generals' reward did not include the law of darkness. Otherwise, I would have been able to comprehend the 9 heavens of light and darkness very quickly. Lin Feng thought to himself. Speaking of which, it might be a blessing in disguise. My ancestors' failure to comprehend the Hongming law of light and darkness back then was actually a good thing. If he had comprehended it and become an almighty, he would not have been able to be resurrected. But now, he can be resurrected if he has the chance. As long as there was a chance, Lin Feng would not be stingy with resurrection and ask the universe rulers for help. It would be a little difficult to resurrect his teacher, Monarch True Dragon. After all, they were on Earth. Although there were some obstacles in resurrecting his ancestor, it was easier than resurrecting his teacher. However, these were all things for later. Lin Feng now had a lot of business to attend to. Fan Zhu could not be contacted. The insect disaster was in full swing. Once it spread, the insect race would break through the army's defense line and expand with the Meluotuo territory as the center. The entire Taichu origin chaotic universe would become a nightmare. Lin Feng could protect himself, but the entire Taichu origin chaotic universe would be destroyed. It would be even more impossible to take over the Taichu's will of the heavenly axiom. Moreover, Universe 7 was Lin Feng's home. Lin Feng did not want Universe 7 to be destroyed and his brothers in the 7th Mercenary Alliance to be devoured by the insect race. Although his personal strength was limited, Lin Feng wanted to do his part. Although he did not have the ability to turn the situation around, he had enough strength to fight the insect race. Moreover, Lin Feng was quite interested in the super blackboard. If a worker wanted to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. Lin Feng had the world form and the battle sword Snow Jade for attack. However, he still lacked something for defense. Lin Feng's weakest point was defense. Although he had the world form to protect him, he still lacked a good enough defensive armor. Although the Hongmeng set was not bad, it was only at the level of a normal Hongmeng origin item. In front of a battle of Lin Feng's level, the Hongmeng set's only advantage was its durability. As long as it was given a life imprint, it would be almost indestructible. Hongmeng's dual pole tower, 7th floor. Every 4 floors is a hurdle. If you can cross it, you will be given a new set. 7th floor, General Set. 11th floor, Hongmeng Set. 15th floor, Dominator Set. The 21st floor Hongmeng's dual pole tower was not a secret. Lin Feng naturally knew that there was a new set on the 15th floor. The Dominator Set's defense was comparable to the Universe Hongmeng origin items. Although Lin Feng did not lack the Universe Hongmeng origin items, the Dominator set did not need to be refined and fused. It could save a lot of effort. His main focus now was on the battle sword Snow Jade. Attack was the most important, especially since Lin Feng majored in sword technique. The defensive set was just icing on the cake. Moreover, the set of armor produced by the Hongmeng's dual pole tower had a unique characteristic. It had an extremely strong self-recovery ability. This was very important in the battle against the insect race. Chapter 3013. The battle in Meluotuo territory was extremely intense. The Taichu warriors, with the army as the core, were initially able to defend against the attacks of the bug race. After all, the Taichu warriors were strong, and many universe rulers were participating in the battle. They weren't at a disadvantage against the time-devouring Bug Emperor and universe-splitting Bug King. However, as more and more Taichu elite warriors entered Meluotuo territory to search for the leader of the bug race, the Taichu warriors' strength was greatly reduced. Plus, after dozens of eras of continuous battles, the warriors would definitely suffer losses. Although the bug race had suffered more losses, they occupied Meluotuo territory and had endless resources. Their losses were almost negligible. However many died, more would be produced. When the bug race attacked, it was always a battle of attrition. Individual combat strength wasn't the bug race's forte. Different universes, different worlds, different races. For example, the Nether Sha race focused on individual combat strength, while the Bug race focused on group combat strength. There was no difference in strength, and they were both terrifying. Trouble. The first marshal was guarding the most important entrance to Milieu Tua territory. At the same time, it was also the biggest exit. Once this place fell, the Bug race would invade and spread throughout the Taichu territory. Although he was the commander of an army, there wasn't much he could do now. The Taichu warriors that should be mobilized had already been mobilized. Those who weren't willing to act and wanted to protect themselves were useless no matter how much he said. After all, they weren't military cultivators, and he couldn't force them. Lord, why don't we gather a few groups of Taichu elite warriors to support us? As the first marshal's assistant, Marshal Kaler Hongmeng was very familiar with the current situation. No. The first marshal immediately rejected the idea. His golden tail slammed against the ground as he frowned. This was a habit he had when he was thinking. Marshal Kaler Hongmeng was very clear about it. But Lord, at this rate, it'll take us at least 3 eras to 5 eras. By then, we won't be able to defend against the Bug race. Marshal Kaler Hongmeng had a worried expression. He knew what would happen once the defense line was broken. They could still defend Milieu Tua territory, but how could they defend the entire Taichu territory? Rob Peter to pay Paul? There were so many insectoids, and their breeding speed was so fast that they could cover the entire Taichu in less than a few hundred eras. Therefore, their final line of defense must not be breached. It's useless. The first Grand Marshal's voice was hoarse, and his expression was grave. Gathering a few groups of Taichu sovereigns is just barely holding on for a few more eras. If we don't get rid of the source, the insectoids will keep coming. This place will be broken sooner or later. Marshal Kaler Hongmeng said, but it'll take at least a few epochs. The other powers currently have 12 Taichu sovereigns searching for us, while the army has 5 Taichu sovereigns returning. This will give them at least 10 epochs of searching time. Let me think about it. The first marshal knew the pros and cons. He wanted to solve the insect problem immediately, but reality didn't allow him to do so. Marshal Hongmeng was right. In terms of efficiency, this might be the best solution at the moment. We'll do as you say. The first marshal let out a long sigh as if he had aged a lot. In the end, he compromised. He didn't want to, but reality didn't allow him to. As the marshal of an army, he couldn't do things according to his personal preferences. He had to consider the big picture. Hongmeng World, God Sealing Space. Lin Feng had already used up the God Sealing rewards from the 13 godly generals. He was now using the 14th reward, Brilliant Fire Tempering. Surrounded by endless brilliant fire, and surrounded by a golden mist, Lin Feng tempered his body. This was the only brilliant fire that was born along with the Hongmeng Sea. The only one. Brilliant fire tempering was also the only one. Only by defeating Brilliant Fire Crown Prince and the third Xiaoyang would he have a chance of obtaining it. This was definitely the best reward Lin Feng had received from the 14 godly generals. In terms of value, it wasn't any lower than obtaining a Hongmeng source item. The difference was that Lin Feng didn't need a Hongmeng source item. The brilliant fire tempering was a basic improvement that couldn't be replaced. If I used it when I was a godly venerate, my universal golden body would be strengthened by less than 20%. The universal golden body of a godly venerate was very different from the universal golden body of a Yuan venerate. One was a saturated state while the other was an undeveloped state. Furthermore, there were differences in the internal universes, so there was a difference in their endurance. When combined, there was a huge difference in efficiency. It was impossible to strengthen the universal golden body to the universal origin body. After all, when a mind cultivator possessed the initial enlightenment body, it meant that their physical body, soul, and mind power were all one. They could either break through together or be stuck in the same place. However, cultivating separately wasn't a problem. When one cultivated to 100 times the universe golden body, 100 times the universe golden soul, and 100 times the universe golden heart, coupled with enough energy and the support of the internal universe, one could complete the great transformation and achieve the elementary yuan body. 10-fold, 12-fold, 15-fold. The effects of the brilliant flame tempering were excellent. Although Lin Feng couldn't directly temper his physical body to a super-universal body like Crown Prince Yao Hua, he was gradually leaving behind the standard one-fold universal golden body. When he broke through to the Yuan Venerate, Lin Feng's universal golden body had improved several times. The brilliant flame tempering had also improved in all aspects. The only pity was that there wasn't enough time. If there was enough time, the brilliant flame tempering could definitely temper his physical body to a 100-fold universal golden body. It should be known that a 100-fold universal golden body was inferior to a universal origin body, which was inferior to a super-universal body that specialized in power and physical body cultivation. Crown Prince Yao Hua's physical body was a super-universal body tempered by endless brilliant flame. 18-fold. It's over. Lin Feng gradually felt the disappearance of the brilliant flame and felt satisfied. An 18-fold universal golden body was 18 times stronger than when he had been a godly venerate. His combat strength had increased greatly. When he had been a godly venerate, Lin Feng hadn't been 100% sure that he could ascend to the 15th level of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. After all, the dual pole tower in Hongmeng was separated, and one could only use Meng Dao in Mengji Tower. At that time, Lin Feng had needed to coordinate with his world embodiment and Hongmeng's laws to reach the combat strength of a top-tier universe master. Now, Lin Feng's physical strength alone had already reached the combat strength of a top-tier universe master. It was enough to ascend to the 15th level of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. The 21st level of the Hongmeng dual pole tower. After leaving the sealed god space, Lin Feng went directly to the Hongmeng dual pole tower. The tower was so tall that the top couldn't be seen. It stood in the middle of the Hongmeng Ocean and was full of mystery and the unknown. It was said that no cultivator had ever reached the top. Not even a world master. No cultivator knew what secrets were hidden in the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. They only knew that it was unfathomable, and there were various legends. "I'm coming." Under the various gazes of the cultivators that had been waiting for him, Lin Feng stepped into the unique primordial dual polarity pagoda in the primordial sea and directly ascended the dual polarity pagoda. The challenge began. Chapter 30:14. Ascending to the 7th level of the Mengji Tower meant becoming an almighty and obtaining a warlord suit. Ranwi? And ascending to the 11th level meant becoming an extraordinary almighty and obtaining a Hongmeng suit. The 13th level was the threshold for becoming a universe ruler. The 14th level was the threshold for becoming a universe ruler. Given Lin Feng's current strength, he was naturally unimpeded. His first golden body alone was already invincible. Furthermore, he had refined Hongmeng's source warblade, Snow Jewel, which allowed Lin Feng's combat strength to soar. 3 Moss Absolute. All of them were great perfection. Even the Universe Ruler Guardian on the 14th level, whose strength was comparable to killing God Wang Yan, couldn't withstand a single strike from Lin Feng. With an 18-fold Universe Golden Body, Lin Feng's combat strength was extremely terrifying, even though he was only a Yuan Venerate. The 15th level was the threshold for becoming a Universe Ruler. Absolutely. With just the blade in his hand, the power of his first golden body was unleashed to the extreme, and the strength of a Yuan Venerate was fully displayed. This barrier, which had blocked countless universe rulers, turned into a wisp of smoke in front of Lin Feng and disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng had ascended to the 15th level. Of the 8 Hongmeng marshals, 7 of them were on this level and had the combat strength of a universe ruler. In the Hongmeng Sea, The combat strength of Hongming's dual pole tower was the most fair and recognized. There were no tricks here. It was a one-on-one challenge, and one could ascend to the highest level based on one's strength. The 15th level was a huge hurdle. Any cultivator who ascended to the 15th level of Hongming's dual pole tower was a big shot who could shake the Hongming Sea with a stomp of their feet. It was the same for Lin Feng now. Big news, big news! Lin Feng has ascended to the 15th level of Hongming's dual pole tower. Is it confirmed that he has ascended to the 15th level? That's impossible. It's true. All the superpowers have confirmed that Lin Feng has ascended to the 15th level and obtained the ruler suit. My God, he's too strong. The various superpowers knew of Hongming's twin towers. Hence, it wasn't a secret that Lin Feng had reached the 15th floor. Very quickly, the news spread. However, this time, it didn't cause much of a commotion. After all, Lin Feng had caused too much of a commotion. He swept through the Supreme God's investiture of the gods. Now that Lin Feng had reached the 15th level of Hongming's dual polarity tower, it was like adding flowers to a brocade. However, those who were truly observant would still notice some details. Previously, when Lin Feng fought against Prince Fire and Ancestor, he relied on that domain-type Hongmeng origin item, and it was combined with level 6 Hongmeng laws. That was how he was able to have the combat power of a top-tier universe master. Just on the path of Hongmeng, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to reach the 15th level. So, Lin Feng has improved again. Yes, he must have ascended to the Yuan Venerate level and obtained the reward of the 14th Divine General. This has allowed him to reach a higher level of enlightenment. That's really impressive. I wonder what level Lin Feng's overall strength will reach now that he is combined with the level 6 Hongmeng Law, Annihilation, and that domain-type Hongmeng origin item. He should be among the cream of the crop among top-tier universe masters. I think so too. Unless his opponent can crack that domain-type Hongmeng origin item and use his internal universe to suppress Lin Feng, even a top-tier universe master won't be able to take advantage of Lin Feng. The entire Hongmeng Ocean was now paying attention to Lin Feng. The Taichu cultivators, in particular, were the most enthusiastic. After all, Lin Feng was a Taichu cultivator. If he was strong, the Taichu cultivators would be proud. If Lin Feng could become a Taichu world master in the future, it would be a supreme glory for the Taichu race. However, not all Taichu cultivators were kind to Lin Feng. On the Emperor Star Fields, Emperor Star Fields, Emperor Star, Lin Feng had already become a symbolic figure. The sky-bearing Star Master had even spent a lot of money to build a towering statue of Lin Feng in the center of the Emperor Star Field to serve as the face of the Emperor Star Field. What Taichu hero? Humph! On the Emperor Star, top-tier universe master Xie was indignant. Not only was he the Star Master of the Emperor Star, but he was also a 7-star Taichu cultivator. For countless eras, the Emperor Star Field's capital star had always been the pride of the Emperor Star Field. It was undoubtedly the strongest planet and had attracted countless cultivators with great potential. The Emperor Star had always been number 1 in the Emperor Star Field. Even when Lin Feng defeated Killing God Wang Yan, the Emperor Star had jumped to number 2 in the Emperor Star Field, and the Emperor Star had remained at number 1. However, the Emperor Star's reputation had already surpassed the Emperor Star's, and the sky-bearing Star Master had raised the banner of Lin Feng to attract young talents from all the major star fields of the Taichu race. The Emperor Star had been in the limelight for a while. Xie, the top-tier universe master, didn't care. He knew that sooner or later, the Emperor Star Field would eventually return to its peaceful state. The Emperor Star that he ruled was still above the Emperor Star. Who would have thought that Lin Feng would become so powerful that he'd swept through the godly venerables investiture list and set off the Taichu race into a frenzy? Not only did the Taichu cultivators seethe with excitement, but the entire Hongmeng Ocean was also in a frenzy. The Emperor's star was like a burning star, emitting scorching light. Not only had it become the most popular planet in the Emperor's star field, but it had also become the most eye-catching planet in the Taichu origin chaotic universe. Countless cultivators had joined the Emperor's star because of Lin Feng's name. The Emperor's star that Xie ruled was crushed and fell to second place. After that, it was even more powerless. Level 15 of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng? Xie, the top-tier universe master, sneered. His strength was also at level 15 of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng. So what if you're Yuan Venerate? The difference in your internal universe is like a chasm. However, relying on a domain type Hongmeng origin item to balance out your internal universe is the only way you can fight against a universe master. As long as you break the domain, the Hongmeng origin item will be beaten back to its original state. Let me, Xie, show you how strong a true universe master is. You definitely can't compare to him. Xie had his pride and self-esteem. Even among the top-tier universe masters in the Taichu, he was one of the best. He had been suppressed by a Yuan Venerate brat time and time again. He couldn't take it lying down. He had almost become a laughingstock these days and had been ridiculed by his friends. If Lin Feng had been in another star field, Xie would have been happy for him and cheered for him. However, Lin Feng was now in the Emperor's star field. This was closely related to his interests and reputation. How could Xie tolerate this? Very good. He hasn't climbed up to the 16th level of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng. Xie had been waiting for news. If Lin Feng had climbed up to the 16th level of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng, he would have given up. After all, that was too terrifying, as he had the strength of a top-tier universe master. However, Lin Feng was only at the 15th level of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng, so Xie had absolute confidence in defeating him. Don't worry, Lin Feng. I'm not so stupid as to become the Taichu's public enemy. Xie had issued a pinnacle challenge to the Emperor's star. He naturally wouldn't engage in a life-and-death battle like killing God Wang Yan. There was no need for that. He just wanted to take back the number 1 position in the Emperor's star field and revive the Imperial Capital Star. If he killed Lin Feng, he would become the target of everyone. Lin Feng's reputation in the Taichu was too terrifying. Chapter 30:15. I failed. Lin Feng retreated from the 16th level of Mengji Tower. Lin Feng was still lacking in the face of a pinnacle universe Lord Guardian. Even with the ruler armor, he couldn't turn the situation around. The Guardian of the 16th level was rather strong. Lin Feng didn't know that only one of the 8 Hongmeng marshals had reached the 16th level of Hongmeng's Dual Pole Tower. The difficulty was obvious. If I work with my world embodiment, I can actually put up a fight. Lin Feng's cooperation with his small world embodiment was excellent. Because he was a Yuan Venerate, his internal universe was still lacking. However, his world embodiment could make up for this weakness. I'll challenge it again when I become an almighty. Lin Feng didn't really care. Even if he reached the 16th level of Mengji Tower, he would only be rewarded with some Hongmeng origin crystals, which wouldn't be of much help to his strength. The next material reward was on the 19th level, which was too far away. I wonder which level the strength of the World Master is at. 18, 19, or 20. There were a total of 21 levels in Hongmeng's Dual Pole Tower. No cultivator had ever reached the 21st level. No cultivator knew what was on the 21st level. One day I will ascend to the highest level. Lin Feng looked up at the towering Hongmeng's Dual Pole Tower. He didn't know where it led to, but his heart was filled with fighting spirit. Lin Feng didn't intend to challenge the Hongji Tower. There was no point in relying on his world embodiment with his half-baked strength. He would challenge it again when he was a pinnacle Yuan Venerate. Emperor Star, Lin Mansion. Tianqing Star Master, Empress Luoyan, Shirwan Li Yuan, and Wan Yuan Venerate were all present. They looked solemn as they discussed in detail. Let me fight on behalf of Big Brother. Sherwanli chewed on the dragon leg leisurely and nonchalantly said, Big Brother has also fought for me in the past. It just so happens that I'm returning the favor in this battle, so that people won't say that I, Sherwanli, bully the weak and fear the strong. But second brother, the one we're challenging this time, is the undefeatable Emperor of the Emperor Starfield, Xiefeng. He has won 99 out of 99 battles in the Summit Challenge, and has never lost. The Imperial Capital Star that he rules has always been the strongest planet in the Emperor Starfield. Yuan said. What's there to be afraid of? Let your second brother defeat him. Sherwanli said casually, full of confidence. No. The sky-bearing Star Lord shook his head and said seriously, according to the prediction of the top AI, Brother Yuan's chances of winning are less than 1 in 10,000. Xiefeng's title of Invincible Emperor is not for nothing. Among the universe masters of the Taichu, Xiefeng is one of the best. Is that so? Sherwanli's eyes sparkled as he chuckled. Isn't that even more interesting? The sky-bearing Star Lord and Empress Luoyan looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They were indeed sworn brothers. Even their personalities were so similar. However, this matter concerned the ranking of the Emperor Starfield. The sky-bearing Star Lord was truly unwilling to let Sherwanli fight. The risk was too great. After trillions of eras, the Emperor Starfield had finally suppressed the Imperial Capital Star. How could they let it go before it even warmed up? Brother Yuan, why don't we? The sky-bearing Star Lord thought, but it was hard to say. Firstly, Sherwanli was Lin Feng's brother. Secondly, Sherwanli's strength was enough to rank in the top 3 of the Emperor Starfield. If he lost, the impact would be huge. Let me do it. A light voice sounded from outside the palace. Lin Feng walked in with a smile. Haha, big brother. Sherwanli and Yuan laughed heartily and went up to welcome him. Brother Lin. The sky-bearing Star Lord and Empress Luoyan's eyes lit up. The moment they saw Lin Feng, their hearts calmed down. This ordinary-looking human youth in front of them was a hero of the Taichu. He swept through the Supreme God list. Hongmeng Dual Pole Towers 15th level. No matter which one it was a shocking feat because of Lin Feng's existence. The Emperor Starfield had become the star of the Taichu. Countless potential newcomers admired Lin Feng and joined the Emperor Starfield. Countless powers squeezed into the Emperor Starfield, wanting to establish a relationship with Lin Feng. Is it Xiefeng? Lin Feng, Sherwanli, and Yuan hugged and sat down. Being in the Emperor Starfield, how could Lin Feng not know Xiefeng? He was the invincible Emperor of the Imperial Capital Star, a top-tier universe master. Even if Xiefeng didn't challenge him, Lin Feng wanted to challenge him to test his strength. Yes, it's Xiefeng. Seeing Lin Feng agree, the sky-bearing Star Lord was overjoyed. Although the outside world had a higher opinion of Xiefeng, the sky-bearing Star Lord had an inexplicable confidence in Lin Feng. Lin Feng dared to agree, which meant that he had absolute confidence. Let me know when the time is set. Lin Feng nodded. No problem. The sky-bearing Star Lord patted his chest. After the summit challenge was set, the sky-bearing Star Lord and Empress Luoyan left satisfied. This battle was too important for the Emperor Starfield. Congratulations, big brother. Sherwanli and Yuan smiled. You received the news so quickly? Lin Feng could tell from Sherwanli and Yuan's expressions. 100,000 Miles laughed heartily. How could we be so well informed? It just so happens that the sky-bearing Star Lord is here. So when Big Brother ascended to the 15th level of the primordial bipolar pagoda, we immediately knew. I see. Lin Feng was enlightened. As a Star Lord, he had a close relationship with the various superpowers, so the sky-bearing Star Lord was well informed. Big Brother, are you confident? Yuan asked worriedly. That Xiefeng has been famous for a long time, and he still came to challenge you despite knowing your power. He must have a plan. No. Lin Feng shrugged and smiled. How would we know if we don't fight? Yuan smiled bitterly, but he knew his big brother's personality, so he didn't say anything else. Don't worry, third brother. Shirwanli patted Yuan's shoulder and said casually, how could that Xie Feng be your match? Now that you've reached the 15th level of Mengji Tower, with your world body, your power should be close to that of a pinnacle universe master. Shirwanli knew the secret of Lin Feng having a world body. Yuan also knew, but he was far from Shirwanli, who had received the inheritance of 100 million wheels master. Let's not talk about this anymore. Lin Feng didn't care much about Xie Feng, but since Xie Feng came to challenge him, he would accept. It was that simple, and he didn't think much about it. He would just treat it as an ordinary fight. Second brother, go and prepare, Lin Feng said. Prepare. Shirwanli stopped chewing on the dragon leg and blinked. Prepare for what? Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he looked into the distance. After this pinnacle challenge, we'll go to Miluo Tua territory together. Ha ha ha! Shirwanli laughed. I've already prepared. I'm just waiting for you to say the word. Big brother, second brother, Yuan was hesitant. Third brother, continue to practice. Lin Feng knew Yuan wanted to participate, but with his power, it wasn't a wise decision. There will be chances in the future. Okay. Yuan wasn't willing, but he knew he couldn't help. Chapter 30:16. Xie and Lin Feng? Damn, that's so exciting. Both of them are powerhouses on the 15th floor of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. They're so strong that they're invincible. That's too exciting. My heart is about to jump out of my chest just thinking about it. Who do you think is more powerful? Xie, the undefeated emperor who has a 99 win streak in the Pinnacle Challenge, or Lin Feng, the Taichu hero who defeated Huang Zun and the Ultimate God list? I can't say for sure, but I feel that both of them are very strong. At least, they're much stronger than me. I think it's Xie. Lin Feng is only a Ultimate God Venerate after all. He might have become a Yuan Venerate now, but Xie is a top-notch universe ruler. The gap is too big. You can't say that. Back then, killing God Wang Yan was also a universe ruler, but he still lost to Lin Feng. How can Wang Bei be compared to Xie? Xie can defeat him with one hand. Moreover, Xie is a cunning old fox. He clearly knows Lin Feng's strength. He definitely has the confidence to win. Lin Feng is in danger this time. That's right. After all, Xie is an undefeated emperor who has a 99 win streak. He's outstanding in all aspects and has no weaknesses. The Emperor's star domain was bustling with noise and excitement. During this period, all the cultivators were talking about this true pinnacle battle. One was the undefeated Emperor of the capital star, while the other was a rising, invincible newcomer who had shaken the entire Taichu. This ultimate battle attracted everyone's attention. In particular, the cultivators of the capital star and the Emperor's star were engaged in a war of words. This wasn't just a battle between Xie and Lin Feng. It was also a battle between the capital star and the Emperor's star, the strongest planet in the Emperor's star domain. Unlike when killing God Wang Yan had challenged Lin Feng, no one in the Emperor's star domain called it unfair this time. Lin Feng wasn't inferior to Xie in all aspects, so no one would think that Xie was bullying him. The battle results of Hongmeng's dual polarity tower proved everything. Lin Feng was fully capable of competing with Xie Feng, a super-universe body. Lin Feng didn't even need to check Xie Feng's information. The sky-bearing Star Lord had already brought over a thick stack of information. They both practiced Mengzi Dao, but murderous God Wang Yan had a universe body. Xie had a super-universe body. He was one level stronger. This difference was equivalent to the difference between a heart cultivator's initial enlightenment body and initial enlightenment golden body. His physical body is much stronger than mine. Lin Feng knew the difference between him and Xie Feng. Even if he had the primary Meng Yuan body, His body was only close to the super-universe body, not to mention that he was only at the primary Meng golden body. Everyone has a ruler's armor set. The difference between the physical body and the ruler's armor set is even greater. Lin Feng's heart was like a mirror. Xie dared to challenge him. Just as his third brother Yi Yuan said, he definitely had a plan. It wasn't just his physical body. His world incarnation wasn't a secret either. It was just that everyone treated it as a Hongmeng origin item. If he was Xie, he would definitely prepare a Hongmeng origin item to break his world incarnation. When the time came, his physical body would be stronger than his and his internal universe would suppress him. Xie would win without any suspense. Let's see if he can break my world incarnation. Lin Feng wanted to know. The summit challenge was held on planet Neru. This was the place where the god-killing King Qi had fallen. However, this wasn't a battle to the death. It was just an ordinary spar. Now that Lin Feng's name was known throughout the Taichu, if Xie defeated Lin Feng, people would at most say that he was bullying the weak. However, if he killed Lin Feng, he would be hated by everyone and his reputation would be ruined. Xie wasn't that stupid. He knew the pros and cons. He didn't really want to defeat Lin Feng. However, as the Star Lord of the Imperial Capital Star, there were some things that he had to do whether he was willing or not. I'm sorry, Brother Lin Feng. Xie bowed slightly. Don't mention it. Let's spar. Lin Feng also smiled. Although the quarrel outside was very fierce, there wasn't much tension between the two. The entire Imperial Capital star field was paying attention. Even cultivators from other star fields came to the Imperial Capital star field to witness this battle. Lin Feng's name attracted too many experts, especially the various superpowers. They paid special attention to Lin Feng. Everyone's anticipation was about to be triggered. Small world incarnation. Lin Feng unsheathed his battle saber Snow Jade. Instantly, a dark red light enveloped him as he merged with his small world incarnation. His current internal universe was enough to suppress most powerful beings, but it was undoubtedly at a disadvantage against a universe ruler. The internal universe of a universe ruler was on another level. It was completely superior to that of a universe ruler. No matter how perfect Lin Feng's internal universe was, it was 2 levels lower than a universe ruler's internal universe. However, the small world incarnation was the Mountain Core's internal universe. To a universe ruler, the Mountain Core's internal universe was dispensable. It was the most useless ability. However, to the current Lin Feng, it was the most useful ability. Shattering Nail. Xie's eyes were sharp. He was already prepared. A pitch-black primordial origin item was hurled out. It seemed as though it had descended from the boundless sky. It descended at a terrifying speed and grew bigger and bigger. In just a blink of an eye, it landed on the small world incarnation. Crack, crack. Wherever the cracking nail was, the surroundings began to crack apart. A terrifying power instantly swallowed up the grand mist energy that was the embodiment of the small world. The endless earth seemed to be sucked dry of energy in an instant, and Lin Feng's defenses were suddenly emptied. Whoosh! Xie's internal universe arrived in an instant and suppressed Lin Feng. It's over. Xie was well prepared. The Shattering Nail was an almighty Hongmeng origin item. It specialized in breaking domains and had extremely strong offensive power. As a top-tier universe ruler who had presided over the Emperor's star domain for billions of eras, how could Xie not have some skills? His 99 consecutive victories in the Summit Challenge competition weren't obtained by luck. It's over. What a terrifying domain-breaking attack. Is this an almighty Hongmeng origin item? Xie is too shameless. He actually prepared a domain-breaking treasure. Lin Feng is only a Yuan venerate. What's the point of using his internal universe to suppress him? If he's so capable, he should fight it out. That's right. It's not honorable to win like this. Apart from the capital star, all the cultivators in the Emperor's star domain supported Xie. They had originally thought that they would be able to watch a decisive battle. Who would have thought that Xie would be so boring as to directly attack Lin Feng's weakness and use a domain-breaking treasure? This wasn't a spar. It was a battle to win. Xie couldn't hear the boos outside, but he wouldn't have cared even if he had. The winner was king. He wasn't relying on a sneak attack or anything. What was wrong with attacking his opponent's weakness openly? This was the Summit Challenge competition. Everyone would win based on their own strength. However, Xie's confidence only lasted for a moment before it was replaced by shock. Lin Feng's domain, which had been broken by the shattering nail, reappeared in an instant. His internal universe was immediately blocked outside. What's going on? Xie was a little stunned. Lin Feng had more than one domain treasure? Chapter 30:17. Lin Feng's trump card was not the Great World Avatar, but the Small World Avatar. He had 1,888 Small World Avatars. As long as he fully understood the Level 6 Hongmeng Law of Destruction, he could use them. This was not difficult for Lin Feng. Understanding the first Hongmeng Law of Destruction was the most difficult. Understanding the second, the third, the fourth, the difficulty was decreasing. Until now, Lin Feng had understood close to 10 Hongmeng Laws of Destruction. Although he had exhausted most of the Hongmeng Law of Destruction when he challenged the Supreme God list, there were still many that he had not used. The quality of the Small World Avatar was equivalent to a Hongmeng Source item. It was slightly inferior to a Hongmeng Source item. Therefore, when Xie Feng took out the Breaking Region treasure, the Small World Avatar could not withstand it and was destroyed. However, the Small World Avatar was not a true Hongmeng Source item. Every Small World Avatar contained a trace of the Mountain Core's will and was connected to the other Small World Avatars and Great World Avatars. Unless all the Mountain Core World Avatars were destroyed, the Small World Avatar could be destroyed but would not be destroyed. Breaking Nail. Xie Feng used it again. The Hongmeng Source item that fell from the highest point in the sky had a terrifying ability to break regions. Even if it was a Hongmeng Source item of the same level, it would still be destroyed. The Small World Avatar was naturally inferior. Crack, another crack appeared. Xie's eyes glowed with cold light. The universe in his body covered the sky and covered the earth. Lin Feng was shocked. Black lines appeared on his face. There were more? This bastard, how can he have so many domain treasures? Xie Feng gritted his teeth. If it was not for the difference in aura of the domain treasures, Xie Feng would have thought that Lin Feng's domain treasures were indestructible. Breaking Nail. The third time he destroyed Lin Feng's Small World Avatar, Lin Feng took out the fourth domain treasure. Huff huff. Xie Feng's face was pale, and his breathing was chaotic. After all, the cracking nail was a powerful Hongmeng origin item, and it was a powerful domain-breaking treasure. Using it required a lot of cosmic energy. Limitless. This must be an extremely rare set of almighty Hongmeng origin items, scattered into countless Hongmeng origin items. Damn it, I've been tricked. Xie Xiu's heart trembled. He suddenly realized that he had been tricked by Lin Feng. He had thought that he would be able to break Lin Feng's domain treasure and suppress it with his internal universe. Who would have thought that Lin Feng would beat him at his own game? His purpose was to consume his super-universe power. The battle had just begun. Not only had he not gained any advantage, but he had also consumed a lot of super-universe power. This can't go on. Only the heavens knew how many domain treasures Lin Feng had. Not only had he failed to break Lin Feng's domain, but he had also exhausted his own super-universe power. There was no need for him to use his internal universe to bully the weak. Even if they fought head-on, Xie Feng would definitely have the upper hand. Xie Feng took a step forward, and his super-universe power attacked Lin Feng like a cannonball. The dark red engravings of the small world avatar couldn't stop it at all. Xiefeng's power as a top-tier universe dominator exploded. He didn't want to break Lin Feng's domain anymore. Destroy! As the enemy advanced, Lin Feng retreated. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't be polite. Snow Jewel instantly combined with the 6th stage Grand Mist laws, annihilation, to launch an attack. The greatest advantage of a small world incarnation was that it carried Grand Mist energy with it. It wouldn't consume any of its own strength. Otherwise, Lin Feng would have been greatly injured just by controlling and resisting the domain-breaking treasure-cracking nail. The perfect destroy, combined with the small world avatar, was equivalent to the 6th-tier Hongmeng Law of Innate, close to the 7th-tier Hongmeng Law of Innate, and entangled with Lin Feng's golden initial power. Lin Feng wasn't as good as Xie Xiu in terms of cultivation in Hongmeng Path, but in terms of overall power, Lin Feng wasn't inferior to him. In fact, he was even stronger. Absolute burst. In a head-on clash, the power of the Hongmeng Law of Innate Destruction was fully displayed in the blade move. This was Lin Feng's most powerful move at the moment. Although its execution speed was a little lacking, its attack power was quite strong. Absolute burst. Snow Jade Battleblade drew an arc at the speed of light and landed on Xie Xiu's Dominator armor set. However, against Xie Xiu, who had a super universe body, coupled with the defense of the Dominator armor set, it was enough to be called an impenetrable defense. Again, Lin Feng instantly exploded. The golden initial power condensed 10 times more than before, and the blue crystal lake secret technique was used. Snow Jade Battleblade's power this time was even stronger than before. Unfortunately, Lin Feng had just merged with Snow Jade Battleblade, so he couldn't even use 1% of its power. Otherwise, just this Hongmeng Dominator origin item would be enough to defeat Xie Xiu easily. Withdraw! Xie Xiu shouted as another Hongmeng Dominator origin item was used. The splitting nail was a treasure that could break through a domain. This time, it turned into a gust of wind that swept through the entire area. Not only did it destroy Lin Feng's small world incarnation to protect itself, but it also instantly shrunk the battle area. A control-type treasure. The small world incarnation was at a disadvantage. Lin Feng's disadvantage was immediately revealed. The grade of Xie Xiu's small world incarnation was not as good as his small world incarnation. It's about time. Lin Feng didn't want to continue. He had a rough idea of Xie Xiu's strength. If he had challenged the ultimate god list just now, he might have really been defeated. However, Lin Feng was now a Yuan Venerate. Since he dared to fight, he naturally had absolute confidence. Great World Incarnation. Lin Feng turned into the center of the axis, and the golden engravings flashed. Although Lin Feng couldn't use the level 7 Hongmeng Law of Destruction, he had already reached the large success stage and had no problem controlling the Great World Incarnation. The majestic Hongmeng energy immediately collided with Xie Xiu's small world incarnation. Xie Xiu's face darkened. He could sense that Lin Feng's Hongmeng origin item was more powerful this time. It is indeed a set Hongmeng origin item. Xie Xiu knew that things weren't going well. Just as the golden engravings flashed, the corresponding crimson engravings appeared. It was as if a large circle was dragging several smaller circles, and small world incarnations suddenly had no place to stand. Retreat. Xie Xiu reacted quickly, but the Great World Incarnation's oppression was too strong. Trying to escape? It's not that easy. The Great World Incarnation defended while the Small World Incarnation attacked. Lin Feng used both at the same time. While the Great World Incarnation was defending, it consumed a considerable amount of his opponent's super universe power. Lin Feng had the absolute upper hand in this regard. Xie Xiu definitely couldn't outlast him. This was because no matter how much Hongmeng energy was consumed, Lin Feng's body wouldn't suffer any losses. The power of the golden initial power was all in the blade technique. Coupled with the Great World Incarnation, the power of the golden initial power increased several times. Boom! 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 Lin Feng's attack erupted like a hot knife through butter. The Great World Incarnation's internal universe was above Xiexio's, and the price of Xiexio's continuous use of the splitting nails gradually appeared. The more he fought, the greater the loss. The greater the loss, the greater the disadvantage. He retreated step by step. Soon, he was seriously injured. I lost. Xiexio sighed and bowed his head to admit defeat. Mobile version update website,